You see, something's going to happen.
What? What's going to happen?
Something wonderful.
What?
I understand how you feel. You see, it's all very clear to me now.
Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode, we got a very, very special guest for you. He's kind of like a veteran when it comes to numbers and Gemantria, or I've known of him for a long, long time. So for him to be on the show, this is very exciting for me. But before we get to the guest, we are going to have the other rejects introduce. So for him to be on the show, this is very exciting. Sorry, I just had myself repeating in the background. My apologies. I had the YouTube link up.
Me too.
Yeah. It fucked me up. I was like, yo, who's talking? I was like, nobody's mouth's moving on the screen. What the fuck? All right, so yeah, we're going to introduce the other rejects, and we're going to start off with Tyrone. What is going on, sir? How are you? And thank you again for showing up for the second show today.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Love being here. Love gaining this knowledge. So everything you can find me on is on my website, rebirthoftheword.com. You can buy my book, Journey Through the Origins of History, on Amazon, which went bestseller. So, yeah, I always love coming to these discussions, Nick. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. No, thank you for joining us. And we got Jules, my man. What is going on, sir? How are you? I'm glad you can make it.
Guys? I'm back.
Hell yeah.
Jules from the greypilledpodcast. You know me. Go check out my channel over on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I'm on Twitter or X at greypilledpod, and over on Patreon, patreon.com/greypilledpodcast. Got a lot of cool things happening over there, exclusive things that aren't available to the public. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on again, Nick.
Of course. No, always love having you on.
Keep inviting me back. So
yeah, of course. I love it. And we got Ethan, my man, Ethan Indigo. What is going on, sir?
I'm honored to be here with Tyrone, Jules, and Zachary. Thank you so much, Nick, for including me. I got the book. We talked about it the other day. Excited about it. I've been super busy, so I haven't got super in-depth into it. So, but I'm also a writer, and on the usual suspects, writing about esoteric and the exoteric, and love talking about number and number symbolism. So this is going to be fun.
Hell yeah. You know it. You already know it. And I love this stuff. So thank you very much, Ethan, for joining us. And finally, the man of the next however long we go for, Zachary. Please let everybody know who don't know who you are on the Occult Rejects. Let everybody know what's up and where they can find your work.
Sure. I'm Zachary K. Hubbard. I'm on my 25th YouTube channel, thanks to their censorship policies. I have a couple books out there, number games, letters and numbers. I can't finish my latest book. I've been spinning the wheels for 5 years on it. Maybe one day I'll finish. I'm on some of the podcast streaming services, but I mostly just stick to YouTube, which is probably not the smartest idea due to all the censorship, but I'm a glutton for punishment. And part of my idea, part of what I think is they want to get rid of us, so I don't want to go away. It makes me want to even post more, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on my fourth, and I've had people even bust my balls about that, and it's just like, I mean, I get it, but it's just like, yo, if we always keep giving up, I mean, it's just going to stay fucked up. So I'm going to keep trying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
But I also think probably for what you do, I think like a visual, you know what I'm saying? And you kind of have like your own personality, so I'm sure like YouTube just does well because of you, with the visuals and stuff for what you do.
Sure. When you're talking numbers, it is nice to have a visual.
Yeah. So I guess what was it that brought you into even thinking about doing this stuff? Like, what was the moment where that you can remember that maybe spun you off in this direction?
Sure. It was once upon a time back when I was 18 years old, and these buildings that were in the 11th state on the 11th of the month went poof in the air, and they just integrated as they came down. And I said, that's a lot of 11s, A11. And then you look into a little bit more, you're like, wow, the president's father, who was the last Republican president, he literally gave a speech 11 years to the day, talking about the new world order as the World Trade Centers came down. So that was something to me, a sign right there that said there must be something about numbers and ritualism. And of course, in numerology, 11 is the master number. It seemed like a master plan was executed that day, that as we were told we'd be over there, we'd be in and out. We'd finish up Daddy's business in a few weeks. To be greeted as liberators with flowers, and we'd be right back. And obviously that wasn't it, because it was 20 some years later, and really you could say still going on today. But I started to look into that more when I was younger, because I never bought the story from day one. I was troubled by that story. And keep in mind, I was a freshman in college. I was in my second week of college when it happened, and I'd almost made a different decision a summer earlier, like pretty much all of us in the slave school system, our junior and senior year. Back then, if we were males, it's probably the same for girls now, we'd get, it was in the day before cell phones. You'd come home and your answering machine would have 20 messages each day from every branch of the military, trying to recruit. And, I remember talking to the military recruiter, and he said it was the perfect time to join because there'd probably never be another war in my lifetime. And I just imagine had I taken that off, or taken that, how many tours I would have done. But anyway, just looking into things, I found something funny years ago, and I couldn't put my finger on why it was, but I saw very soon after September 11th, just being the questioning mind that I had, or I like to research, I noticed that 911 and World Trade Center, 911, the dialing code, the emergency dialing code, I noticed that was established in 1968, the same year that World Trade Center construction began in New York, the same year that George W. Bush graduated from Yale and became an alumni of Skull and Bones, that well-known secret society there. And people forget, but Paul Walker had just put out the movie The Skulls, about Skull and Bones shortly before that election, and he gets a red Porsche in the movie, ended up dying 5 years to the day, a George Herbert Walker Bush in a red Porsche. It's a whole nother story. But 1968, just a lot of things happened that year. Boeing, also founded by a Yale alumni. 1968 was the year they debuted their jumbo jetliners. I always thought sports were rigged growing up. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I used to watch Michael Jordan get away with everything against the Blazers in the finals and everything else. And I always thought sports were rigged. But then I remember after 9/11, you get the Patriot Act, and then all of a sudden the Patriots are the greatest football team there ever was. And if you look into it, 1968, it's the year the New York Jets won their only Super Bowl. And of course, it was a New York Jet, Mo Lewis, who sacked Drew Bledsoe, that gave rise to Tom Brady. So I was looking at all these things. I was like, God, it's weird how all of this stuff just goes back to 68. And again, you look into 1968, it goes beyond just 9/11. It's the year that Corona, the Corona, it's the year it was coined. It's the year fentanyl was approved by the FDA. It's the year that the Yale professor put out the book, The Population Bomb, about why we need to depopulate. A lot of things go back to 1968. Even if you're just watching fiction, they like to allude to that year over and over again. HBO recently did that show about the video game The Last of Us, and it begins in the year 1968. And anyway, it was looking into those things and seeing like, okay, a whole lot of 11s on 9/11. 1968 is 33 years before 2001. I understand 11 and 22 are the master numbers in numerology. Some people recognize 33 as the master teacher number. For about a decade after that, I had this idea of numerology and numbers having importance within numerology, but I still didn't really understand why there would be so much ritualism with numbers. Could it just be numerology? Is this all that's going on? And then I came across the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall, which was published in 1926. I know you're a former OTO, yes, which is pretty much Aleister Crowley's thing now. He took over the OTO in 1925. There's definitely a lot of ideas in The Secret Teachings of All Ages that go along with Aleister Crowley, but Manly P. Hall introduces this subject of letters and numbers as a form of cryptography, which makes sense. The CIA has a statue outside their headquarters called Cryptos, and it's encoded messages and letters. But anyhow, if you read The Secret Teachings of All Ages, when he first gets into cryptography, he talks about how, in Hebrew, in ancient Greek, there's the practice of coding numbers into words, and he suggests that the practice might exist within English, but he doesn't give it an endorsement. He just kind of says it's something to research into. And I pretty much took that challenge. I said, well, let's see if this could explain something. about numbers and rituals? Could there be something within language that provides more meaning to these numbers? And I back then I just had a notebook and a pencil and went through and used I started with the first two ciphers that he lays out, which are just the alphabetic order. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26. And then he describes that cipher in words, but the only cipher that he actually puts in the book, if anyone has the Secret Teachings of All Ages, is what's known as the Pythagorean cipher, which is still A is 1 up to Z is 26, but you apply numerology to each letter. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. Where it changes is when you get to J, the 10th letter, you would take the numerology of 10. So J becomes 1 plus 0 is 1. K, the 11th letter, becomes 1 plus 1 is 2. L, the 12th letter, becomes 1 plus 2 is 3.
That's funny that happens at 10 because that's the top number of the Sephirot, which Hall talks about a whole lot. He has a whole treatise that I have on Kabbalah. So
right. And then with the Tree of Life, there's also the hidden Sephirah or Sephiro. Some recognize the 11th. So we'll get into that because there's 22 paths and the 10 known Sephiro. You count the 11th. Now you're dealing with 33. Yeah. We're definitely going to talk about the Tree of Life in a moment because all of this, for people to know, this whole thing of letters and numbers, which we're about to get into, goes back to Kabbalah, where the physical models, the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic text, the Book of Formation, the first paragraph explains that God created the world with numbers, letters, and words. But within Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, he gives you these first two ciphers, alphabetic order and alphabetic order with numerology. And then you read a little bit further ahead, he talks about doing the same thing in reverse, which is also Aleister Crowley's thing, you know.
Or like palindromes.
So the reverse, right? The reverse would be going from Z is 1 back to A is 26, and then the reverse with numerology. And I refer to this as the 4 base ciphers of the English language. We'll talk more about it, but just with regards to 33. 33, what was the number that at first I was researching to see if it could add some explanation of why all these events in 1968 and then 33 years later in 2001, again, the World Trade Centers come down after construction began in 68, 911, which was made the emergency dialing code in 68, becomes synonymous with the World Trade Centers demise. And then also Boeing. They said all the planes on that day were Boeing when Boeing did debut their jumbo jetliners in 68. And so using this cipher that Manly P. Hall lists out, the alphabetic order with numerology applied, the word masonry equates to 33. And of course, you think of the Scottish Rite, the highest degree is 33. The word secrecy in the same cipher is 33. The word order is 33. The word federal is 33. DC is known as the Masonic City, obviously named after the Freemason George Washington. Granted, he wasn't a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason because he predates that, but he does have a monument in his honor in Virginia that's 333 feet tall. And of course, the headquarters in DC for the Masons, the House of the Temple, the address is 1733, which is interesting because the word Mason alone is 17. Masonry is 33. Modern Freemasonry born June 24th, 1717 in London, which is divided into 33 neighborhood areas. But this 33 thing, just adding to the list, the word Genesis equates to 33. And in Genesis, you have the story of the Tower of Babel, the tower that divides the world. And that story does end in Genesis 11:9. The majority of the world writes the date 11th of September, 11:9. Genesis means in the beginning. If you don't use numerology and you just write out in the beginning, it equates to 137, which is the 33rd prime number. And my theory on what they're doing with this, again, you just look in recent days. Just the other day, we had the shooting in New York. And the shooter supposedly went up to the 33rd floor. Yeah. And the officer he killed, his name was Islam. And this is right after Mamdani shocks New York winning the primary on Freemasonry's birthday at age 33 when he wants to defund the police. And that's now created a political narrative. Oh, look at this Muslim who wants to defund the police. And now you have an Islam named off. Anyway, In the days before that, we just saw the death of Ozzy Osbourne exactly 33 weeks after his birthday. Right before that, you saw the death of the Cosby actor 33 years after the Cosby Show ends. This stuff is happening all the time with 33. So my take on what they're doing is Masonry's obsession with 33 is in Kundalini, about spiritual ascension up the 33 bones of the human vertebrae. And just for the record, the word Kundalini equals Freemasonry, equals secret society, equals Solomon's temple, comes back to the body as the temple. But there's this Kundalini thing, studying about spiritual ascension up to 33 bones of the human vertebrae. Kundalini factors in with the tree of life, the Kabbalistic model. And for people who've never noticed it before, Genesis 3:22. Again, Genesis is one of these 33 words. Genesis 3:22 mentions the tree of life and knowing good and evil. Of course, the physical model for Kabbalah is the tree of life. And within the study of Kabbalah, there's what's considered the good half, understanding the way Creator works. Again, if you look into Kabbalah, there's a good half and there's a dark half. And part of the dark half is about sorcery and spell casting and having influence over others. And what it appears to me is the government types that use this knowledge to create the propaganda that steers the minds of the masses. It's essentially an inversion. Instead about spiritual ascension up the 33 bones of the human vertebrae, it's more about descension, keeping people in a low state, controlled by fear, where they're easily manipulated. And just to add on to this list of 33 words, the word people is 33. The word person is 33. Society is 33.
Wow.
The word nervous is 33. Again, this is just all using the one cipher, the alphabetic order with numerology. Nervous is interesting because the spine, where the 33 bones are, controls the nervous system. And you think about society right now, the society we live in the age of screens, where there's just all this nonstop negative fear programming, which, I mean, if you pay attention and read these stories, almost every other day or every other story, they just put a big fat 33 in there. Case in point, on the same day you get the story of the mass shooter going up to the 33rd floor, you have Cambodia and Thailand reaching a ceasefire, and everyone reported after at least 33 people were killed. And then you look at it more carefully. By the way, Thailand equals 33. They were the aggressor. They also have the red, white, and blue flag. Masonic. The current prime minister of Cambodia just happens to be the 33rd. It was 33 weeks after Thailand prime minister birthday when they reached this ceasefire. The point is there's a reason they're using this number that's associated with us and associated with spirituality. And to me, it really does seem like an inversion of what it was meant to be, again, about keeping people in this low state, the state where they're in fear and easily controlled. And coming back to this whole thing of letters and numbers, as far as we know from what remains in the realm of information today, it goes back to Hebrew and it traces back to the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. When Jewish people study this practice of gematria, all the different ways it's said, the number meanings come from the Torah. And again, just like I said, Genesis equates to 33. The Tower of Babel that divides the world that ends in Genesis 11:9. You think about how when 9/11 happened, as we'd say it here in the U.S., there was so much division that came out of that. Obviously, the mainstream media tried to teach people here in the West that Islam was this very dangerous thing, radicals that hate us for our freedom and all this crap. People who were paying attention and watching things like 60 Minutes, 60 Minutes in the weeks after 9/11 ran the story about the dancing Israelis and how they were flowing back to Israel. If you're paying attention, you're like, wait a minute. Did Jews do this? Is this Mossad? Again, depending on what angles you're paying attention to, everyone's pointing the fingers at different groups. And again, what I explain is the cabal is using this knowledge. They're using the Bible as a playbook, and they're using it to keep us, again, divided, fighting amongst ourselves, and submitting essentially to their agendas. With regards to the Bible, if you run the alphabetic order in reverse, with numerology. The word Bible is 33. And most people, when they hear 33, they think of probably the most recognized spiritual figure in the West. They think of Jesus, who performed 33 miracles, who was crucified, the common belief at 33, even though that's stated nowhere in the Bible. So again, the Bible's another one of these words with 33. Just coming back to other examples of 33, the word family is 33. Have you ever seen the show Bloodline?
Love it. Yeah, man.
33 episodes, right? Show about family and the modern times. And one of the major problems one of the character has is alcohol. Alcohol is another word that equals 33. And of course, prohibition ended in 33. And again, there's a time and a place for alcohol, but a lot of people obviously cannot control themselves. And it's another thing that can be very destructive and has been for society. And you see also how the state uses it. When I was growing up, the blood alcohol limit was a lot higher for the limit when you could drive. They've lowered it to where, a lot of us, we could probably drive just fine. But if we got pulled over and got a breathalyzer, all of a sudden we're in the slammer and we got at least $10,000 in legal fees. But again, I'm making the point about how they have assigned numbers to things that are so pertinent, but also so connected to us. I mean, alcohol is obviously as old as biblical times. It's something that's discussed in the Bible. It's part of religious sacrament for everyone who worships on Sunday. And speaking of Sunday, it is the only day of the week that equates to 33. You just saw the Sunday before last. You saw the death of the Cosby Show actor. Again, Cosby Show ended in 92. And what's interesting is the male offspring, S-O-N. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse without numerology, that word son, S-O-N, equates to 33. Cosby's son on the show dies, again, 33 years after the show ends. What's interesting is sun in the sky, S-U-N. That word with the alphabetic order is 54. With numerology, S-U-N becomes 9. He dies at 54 on a Sunday on the 9th day of Bill Cosby's age. And he also died on the 201st day of the year. And the Cosby Show ran 201 episodes. And again, I know I'm going on here for a minute and I got a little off 33, but to understand who's doing this, it seems quite clear to me. The Jesuit order is who gave us the calendar, the calendar that says that actor died July 20th. By the way, in the ending days of Cancer, which is, ruled by the moon, which is a water sign. But he died in the time of Cancer on July 20th. Again, it's the Jesuit priest Christopher Clavius who gave us this calendar. If you look, that was at the end of the 16th century. That's the same point in history when the English alphabet was standardized with 26 letters. The oldest English script goes back to the monk Burford of Ramsey Abbey from the year 1101 AD. For the 500 or so years after that, there's all different variations of English that were used around the world. Again, it's the same moment that the calendar is implemented that English is standardized. And in the century before that, that's also when the Bibles were beginning to become numbered. What it seems to me is that these people put a system in place, a system that's used to control Kabbalistically. And hold on, I got to get somebody at the door here real quick. Somebody wants to come in real quick.
You're good. Craziest thing, I didn't even think about it. I turned 33 on Monday.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I was like, my man,
it's a weird synchronicity right there.
Yeah,
Happy birthday.
Thanks, man.
Perfect.
Yeah, turned 33 after all these 33 rituals happened that I didn't even know involved it, that number in any way. So,
yeah, it was some wild stuff just now.
33 was a rough year for me. I had another popular YouTuber threaten my life for Christmas Eve back in 2016 when I was 33, and I hit 2 walls in my house. And I had a SUV crash through 2 walls of the house on Christmas Eve back then.
Holy shit!
Yo,
that's a rough night.
What?
Yeah,
that is crazy. Wow. All right.
It wasn't this guy that's been in the comments the whole time, was it?
Say it again.
It wasn't this guy who's been in the comments on YouTube the whole time.
Well, actually, what's interesting is he does frequent the chat of that person, and that person, there actually is a connection there. So,
Birds of a feather, right?
Wow,
your joke's
that is
not
crazy.
too far off the mark.
Apple didn't fall too far from the tree. All right, so do you want to go anywhere else? Were you done with the 33? I don't know. Actually, we were talking about what got you started, but
just about 33 in the 50 states. With the cipher that Manly Puyol actually lists out, the Pythagorean cipher, the one where almost every 33 we talked about was in, there's only 3 states that equate to 33 in that cipher. The first state, Delaware, which was established on 33 date numerology. The 6th state, Massachusetts, 33 in numerology is 6. Man's made on the 6th day in the Bible. And the 50th and final state, Hawaii, which was also established on a 33 date numerology. And if you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, you get one more state that's 33, and it's New York, where, so many things went down on that 11th in 2001. And several of those flights did come out of JFK in Boston, Massachusetts. Kennedy's another name that in that same cipher, 33. And where did he die? He died in Dealey Plaza on 11/22. Add those numbers together. Pretty easy, 33. The 35th president killed on I-35. The word Catholic's 35, the first Catholic. Run it in reverse, Catholic's 46, like he was killed at 46. And then, of course, the second Catholic president's Joe Biden, elected exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, after he loses his son at 46. Anyway, the point I'm making is you look through the massive rituals that have taken place in history that have really shaped the minds of this nation, and not for the better. A lot of it has driven fear into everyone's minds, anxiety, from the Kennedy assassination to what happened in New York on the 11th of September. That 33 is right there. And I guess one more point to make is 33 is not always recognized as a master number. Some people call it the master teacher number. Funny enough, the word teacher in that same cipher is 33. And in a sense, it seems like the lesson they're trying to teach people through all this fear is just submit to government and we'll keep you safe from here on out. I forgot to mention another key crucial 33 word is police. And of course, there's the Fraternal Order of Police. And so often these stories we're told in the media come strictly from the police. And oftentimes there's no evidence that anything even happened. So, yeah, 33, monster number and used in high ritual all the time.
Man, I was going to say it kind of goes down to the base number 3, right? Because there's 3 degrees in the Blue Lodge. I mean, you see, and that's like, what's it called? The triad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
33 is the rep digit of 3. It's just like 3 Abrahamic religions. Yeah, the triangle.
You see a lot of things in 3s, man.
Another point I should have made is the Masons logo, the G. Obviously, it's a G surrounded by instruments of geometry. The word gematria means geometry in language, and within sacred geometry, the belief is essentially that creation, it's the master mathematician. It's why you see the same mathematical sequences in creation. The Fibonacci sequence is associated with that. But the G, a lot of people believe that the G in the Masons logo also stands for Gnostic, which would make a lot of sense. Gnostic is another word that equates to 33 in the same cipher that, almost every word I just gave you equates to 33. For people who don't know what Gnosticism is, it's in the early days of Judaism and Christianity, it was the belief that this esoteric knowledge is part of spiritual ascension, like Kabbalah, for example. And I got to be honest, in the time of researching this, I've seen some pretty magical things in numbers. I like to refer to it as the organic side that makes me think that this didn't just come from somewhere. There really is something to numbers.
There's truth in it. Yeah,
absolutely. And then there's also a manipulative side. So
that's what they push, I think, to the masses as well, because you have to look at it. There's a lot of groups tied into using this one number that you see everywhere.
Yeah.
Did
you
May I?
Go ahead, Ethan. Go ahead. No, you go ahead, sir.
Well, I was going to share a couple of things, if it's okay. If you wanted to ask your question, Nick, please go ahead. Okay. In looking at the number symbolism through the Taoism lens too, you can find some correspondence and some verification of these symbolism ideas that you brought up, Zachary, and that many people are familiar with in the 33. Interestingly enough, in the Tai Chi practices I've been taught, there's always been the idea that one should practice in number sets of 3, 6, or 9. So they're very about the triple. Sometimes it could be just in a martial arts setting, right, left, left type of thing. But I think it's much more deep than that. If we look at the I Ching, we have the 64 trigrams, or hexagrams rather, made up of the trigrams, and 33 is one above what is 32, the half of the number of hexagrams, which is kind of the same symbolism as when you're above freezing, you're now at the 33. So same thing in this understanding symbolically. If you're under, this 33 is kind of having more than half of the understanding of the total, if you will. And you brought up the 322, the Genesis 322. Was that the one, which goes to this whole idea I think we've been touching on, and I'll just share it with everyone. And the Lord God said, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. Which really kind of goes to the whole symbolic value of not being freezing, right? Being enlightened and being, literally an illuminated individual. But I think we find this discrepancy between a lot of the symbolism is where people will use it to cage others rather than use it to free themselves. Right. And so these symbols can always be used as an empowerment for devious, bastards, if you will, but can also, the same symbolic lesson could be used to really empower an individual and a group and everyone.
It's all about the intention of using that. And I think it's the same thing with the numbers, right? Like they hold some sort of power. It has to be the intention behind using them.
Absolutely. What Ethan just spoke of is expressed in the 7 Hermetic Principles. I always encourage everybody to read the 7 Hermetic Principles. You can read them in no time, but you can think about them for the rest of your life. One of the principles is that everything carries a vibration, every single thing. And again, that goes for every shape, every letter, every number, every color, everything carries a vibration. And another idea expresses those vibrations have a real impact on things. Another idea in the 7 Hermetic Principles is that you're either the person who's being impacted or you're the person doing the impacting. And you think about this world where almost everyone is at the mercy of the authorities. I mean, we now have screens in everyone's pocket, so we're pretty much all up to date on all the latest stuff that they're throwing at us constantly all the time. Everyone's reading the story about, shooting at NFL, and he went up to the 33rd floor at the same time. And that's the thing that's quite obvious to me. The people who do this, they're totally confident that the information they're putting out to the masses, it's just going right over their head, because they really put these same numbers in front of everyone's faces on a daily basis. I mean, 2 of the biggest headlines on Monday were the shooting and the guy going up to the 33rd floor, and Cambodia and Thailand reaching a ceasefire after 33 people were killed. And just another day in the life. But what I wish I had access to is the extended Hermetica, because it must be somewhere. Like I imagine it's in a place like a Vatican vault or something that does talk about the real magical correspondence of these vibrations that go with certain colors, that go with certain letters, numbers, sounds, and what that impact is on the subconscious of a person. Because it's obvious that they're attacking people's subconscious with this information and putting the same symbols, the same numbers in front of them all the time. What is this doing to humanity? By the way, a 33 word that I shouldn't have left out, especially since you're former OTO, is if you just take the alphabetic order, just the alphabetic order, no numerology, M, the 13th letter, A, the first letter, G, the 7th letter, I, the 9th, C, the 3rd, you add it together, magic is 33. And again, Crowley wrote about the magic with the K, this black magic. It does seem, again, you think about the word spell itself, just the word spell. For the record, the word craft equals 33, which is what Masons referred to their knowledge as, the craft. But again, spell, magic, and creation of words. What is it by doing these things systematically as they do day after day? What does it do to the subconscious of the average person? To me, before I even found this, going back to when I was 18 and those buildings came crumbling down, to me, it just seemed like such an obvious lie from the get. There wasn't like 1 second that I bought what the authorities were telling me, but I found out very quickly from all my peers that I was on an island, and a lot of people, all they had to say to me was conspiracy theorist, schizophrenic, move out of the country. Then I just found that everybody was saying the same thing. I'm like, I'm the one making logical points here, and everybody around me just has these same ideas in their head, and this is all I can get from my peer group. I felt that people are under some kind of spell, that they just cannot see through the obvious lies that are fed to them each day. And I think somewhere within this Kabbalistic magic, using this dark side of the tree of life, I think it is the explanation for what those of us who have eyes to see what we're experiencing in life. So, yeah, and this is why people need to be aware. People should read the Hermetic Principle and think about that. Like, yeah, am I being influenced? Are my thoughts my own? Or am I being constantly controlled by somebody else through these screens and devices and the different things we see as authority? Because absolutely, that's what it is for almost everybody.
May I ask? Oh, no, please, Tyrone, go ahead.
I was going to ask, have you read Morals and Dogma from Albert Pike?
I do have Morals and Dogma back there. I'd like to find an older version. I've heard the older version has more in it. So, bro,
I got a lot of tabs from his book, bro, and a lot of what you're saying, with the 33 number is very interesting in there. I mean, I actually going to do a whole series just based on that book, because it's a lot of stuff that he talks about is very interesting.
With regards to Albert Pike, they try to make it a conspiracy theory now. Once upon a time, it wasn't treated that way. His letter about 3 world wars, three world wars to come before any of them happened. If you look at the publishing date for that letter, it's August 15th, 1871. And that's the Jesuit order's birthday. And there's a lot to that date in light of how it lines up with the world wars. But I pointed out that when Netanyahu came back into power on December 29th, that was Albert Pike's birthday. And of course, the Third World War in that letter is based on political Zionism. And for the record, there's only 1 month that equates to 33 out of the 12 months, and that's October. And of course, October is when we invaded after 9/11. It's also October 7th is the day we invaded Afghanistan, which is now the day that the war in Israel began. And there's a lot that I could say about October 7th. A lot of people overlook that Giuliani was the 107th mayor, and 9/11 happened on the 107th day of his age. And then we invaded on 10/7 when the word military is 107. And that's also the day leaving 85 days left in the year, and Templar equals 85. And at the time, Bush was the president, and he referred to it as a crusade, which were waged by the Templars. Did I mention earlier that Bonesman equals 33, the alumni of Skull and Bones? Because, again, it was 33 years after he became alumni, and Skull and Bones gets their symbolism from how the Templars buried their dead in an ossuary. And, of course, they're modeled after the Bavarian Illuminati, which was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who died on the 322nd day of the year. And I don't want to talk too much because I know you guys have a lot of knowledge too, but another number I would like to jump into that I've been working on a book for 5 years on this subject is the number 201. It's a number that a lot of people don't know about, but it is super important. And it has to do with why Adam Weishaupt died 201 days after the Illuminati's establishment. It also has to do with why David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister of Israel, died 201 days after Israel's establishment anniversary, plus a whole lot more. But
may I say on the 322, that's something I wanted to mention. And in that biblical verse, it really harkens to this whole idea of ideas used to enslave and to free, if you will. And it also, that Genesis verse 322, it has really maybe one could say the primary duality of polarity, good and evil and life and death. Looking at the number 322, we see that it is often used as, or pertaining to this group from Yale, the Skull and Bones, as related to people that would entrap rather than free, right? And I've been obsessing with, I really want to hear what Zachary and Jules think about this number symbolism. I've been obsessing about the duality of polarity for a long time. And I was also really focused on a certain trinity when the number 322 came up. And for the first time, I didn't look at it as 322. I looked at it as Trinity, polarity, or Trinity and duality of polarity. And in that sense, we have the Trismegistus, the third degree, the masterful one, the individual in pursuit of individuation, if you will, by way of the three many different formats. And you have the duality of polarity that, you know, we could symbolize in any number of ways, the life and death model, and the good and evil model that is in the 322 verse. But you could also look at it as being creative in positive and negative format, or capital and base, like the twin pillars, and being destructive in positive and negative format, or capital and base. So I think the 322 has that elusive idea of building up an individuated inspiration model, and or using that type of mannerism on others. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
I'll let Jules go first, and then I'll tell you my thoughts.
I think you're onto something with that. I wouldn't have even looked at it like that if you wouldn't have brought that up.
It took me 20 years. It took me 20 years, so you would have in another 10.
Wow. Especially when you bring the Hermetic principles into it. Speaking of Hermes, yeah. No, I mean, I think you're right on point. Now, the polarity, I mean, like I said earlier, it's all about the intention of how you use these numbers. So, I mean, that would make sense why they would use it in Skull and Bones. Is there anywhere else that number's used?
Variously, there is I think it might be off by a number or two. It might be 325, but I'm not. There's different argument on that. But a certain story, a Greek story about Ceres and a tree, actually, and I'm not 100% familiar with exactly how it goes down. But essentially, Ceres comes to Earth on 322. And some people have pointed to the number symbolism being reference to that.
Interesting. What about you, Zach? What do you think? Because I think Ethan is onto something.
Well, absolutely. Numbers are dualistic. There's no such thing as a bad number or a good number. They're dualistic right down the middle. And two can represent to come together or to take apart. And think about the Twin Towers. Destroyed, massive division in the world, and then rebuilt as one. I'm going to come back to that with the 201 thing. There were 2 towers that became 0 before they became 1. This 201 is very special to the Jesuits. They have a motto, both into one. It's Georgetown's motto. But for example, just at the World Trade Center site, Building 3 was 22 stories tall. Building 3, 22 stories. Again, Genesis 3:22 speaks to the tree of life, which has 3 pillars and 22 paths. For the record, if you just run the alphabetic order in reverse, Abrahamic religions equates to 3:22. They're all based in Genesis. They're all based in the Torah. Ancient mystery religions, that phrase equates to 3:22. That's Kabbalah, Hermeticism, Kundalini, alchemy, these things. Ancient mystery religions, 3:22. A phrase that we know, the military industrial complex, just for the record, 3:22. You had a Skull and Bones member in there known as Order 3:22. By the way, Skull and Bones says they take 3:22 because of, how do you say his name? Philosopher, is it Diostases? Is that right? Diostases?
Diogenes?
Yeah. He died the same year, I believe, as Aristotle, 322.
Maybe Diogenes.
I always forget his name, but that's what Skull and Bones' explanation is for why they recognize 322. It's obviously more than that. But yeah, just your point about 22 and its duality, again, about bringing together.
Somebody said, sorry, Zach, Demosthenes. I
think that's right.
Yeah.
Who was the Greek politician that died about a year back? God, he used to be. I'll go back and look at my notes. I cannot think of his name right now. He was in politics in the 80s. He died in a big 322 ritual. Just going back to the Greeks and anyway. Yeah, I think your idea is correct. If you want to talk more about it when you guys are ready, I would like to talk about 201. I think it's a number that people really need to learn to recognize.
One thing I did just want to add real quick, I noticed when you were covering the stuff with Trump, you were saying something about Trump, and you were saying like 107 a few times. If you took out the 0, you'd get that 17 that was always going along with him as well.
I think I was talking about Giuliani.
Oh yeah, Giuliani. But I mean, it's a tie to Trump during that time.
Hey, Zach, were you talking about Kostas Simitis? That wasn't the former prime minister. He died at age 88. So
no, American politician who was a Greek. He died about a year back. I cannot think of his name right now. It's escaping my mind. If you heard his name, you'd be like, oh yeah. I mean, a big name in politics back in the 80s. I
can't remember.
Should I talk about 201?
Oh yeah. Go for it, please.
Okay. So I've been doing this research nonstop, and I'd actually had a few notes that I didn't find that didn't see how important they were on 201. But when 201 really went on my radar is, I'm sure you guys are aware of Event 201.
Yes.
The pandemic simulation, October 18th, 2019, the same day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that these people are about numbers, I said, there must be a reason that they called this thing Event 201. Let me look into this 201. And it all came together relatively quickly, just going through my old notes. I had not connected the dots, but they were there. Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, became the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. And the building that he lived in, the first pope to live in it, it was originally a hospital built in tribute to the last Pope Leo, who had died on the 201st day of the year. And I said, that's interesting. Pope Francis's birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equates to 201. And the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola, his name equates to 201. If you write out the Jesuit order, it equates to 201. If you look into history, from Martin Luther penning the 95 Theses beginning the Protestant Reformation to the creation of the Jesuits, it was 201 months later. And a joke that went over everybody's head in this nation, it was the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., who was not born with that name, Martin. He was born Michael. But MLK was killed on the 95th day of the year, like Martin Luther penned the 95 Theses from MLK's assassination to the first major gun control in this nation, which happened in October, it was 201 days later. And if you look into the Jesuit suppression happened after the first 201 days of the year passed, and then the very next day, the suppression began on July 21st. The story is that they were preserved by Catherine the Great, who preserved the order with 201 Jesuit priests. This is written in their by Jesuit priests. It's their own story being told. Again, the Jesuits have a motto, both into one, which has to do with Christians and Jews coming together on one faith. Quite interesting in light of what you think happening in the U.S., a predominantly Christian nation, and then Iyad Barak going on TV after 9/11 and telling us to invade Afghanistan and Iraq. And if you look into more recent history, when Biden was president, Biden's Jesuit educated just like Trump.
Yep.
Biden and Putin met 201 days after the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year began. And they met on Pearl Harbor Day. That just happened to be, for people who missed it, the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year ran more than a typical calendar year. It began on the 500th anniversary of Ignatius of Loyola being shot. By the way, this year, the World Health Organization came to their pandemic declaration for the next pandemic to make sure everyone gets mass vaxxed. They came to that agreement on Cannonball Day, the day to remember somebody getting shot, a different type of shots, kind of like how Sandy Lindsay was the first jabbed person in this country. And that was on the anniversary of Sandy Hook, which was compared to the Dunblane massacre, which happened 201 months earlier. And supposedly the tennis star, I believe it was Andy Roddick, survived that. But anyway, just coming back to 201 more recently. Again, the war in Russia-Ukraine began in the Donbass region. Donbass region is 201. And where that is ancient Khazaria. Jewish mysticism equates to 201.
Of course.
State of Israel equates to 201.
Of course.
When Biden, well, it went House, Senate, Biden, but when they agreed to the $95 billion for Ukraine and Israel on Hitler's birthday, a few days later. By the way, if you look into Hitler's birth certificate, if you don't know this, look up his birth certificate. Adolphus Hitler is what's written on there. That equals 201. He modeled the SS after the Jesuits.
Yo.
Oh.
When Biden put his John Hancock on the $95 billion, he did it on the 201st day of the war between Israel and Hamas. And there's been a whole lot of 201s. Netanyahu stepped down from power on June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Israel just bombed Iran on June 13th, which is also the anniversary of the U.S. military's war propaganda department being created. When he came back on Albert Pike's birthday, he came back on 1229. 1229 is the 201st prime number. Masonry is essentially based in Jewish mysticism. That's why sometimes it's referred to as Judaism for the Gentile, Kabbalah. This little town I live in Washington State, town of 4,000 people, Prosser, Washington. It's one of these old towns where the Masonic Lodge and the police station share the same building. It's funny, the address here for that Masonic Lodge is 1229. But this 201 number, it's just everywhere. And they love to put it with 95 all the time. It's like Event 201, again, was the same day the Military World Games happened in Wuhan, China.
Oh,
and if you look, the first Military World Games were in the year 95, and they were in Italy, and the Jesuits were part of the sponsorship of that game. Again, the Jesuits were a response to Martin Luther and the 95 Theses. For the record, the word Halloween equals 95, since Halloween's the anniversary of the 95 Theses being pinned. But this 201 thing is incredible. So look at what just happened in the last few days. So you have the Cosby actor die on the 201st day of the year when the Cosby Show ran 201 episodes. The phrase heliocentrism equates to 201. That model was agreed to in the century of the Jesuits, the 16th century. Their logo is the sun. The heliocentric model says the sun is at the center of it all. SUN equals 54. Malcolm Jamal Warner's dead at 54. By the way, the Cosby Show equals 54 too. He's dead at 54 on the 201st day of the year. Then Ozzy Osbourne, not his birth name, but what he's known as, equals 201. He's dead. He's known for biting the head off a bat on January 20th, which is now Inauguration Day. That's the 201st day of the U.S.'s age. You measure from July 4th to January 20th, 201st day of the nation's age. It wasn't always Inauguration Day, just like the Capitol wasn't always in D.C. And don't forget, the Jesuits are who set up camp in D.C. And the year that Georgetown was established, whose motto is both into one, that's the same year that George Washington, later that year, became recognized as the first president. So Ozzy Osbourne, the other thing that's curious is when they were on tour with Metallica in 86, Cliff Burton died on September 27th, which is the day in history the Jesuits are recognized by the Roman Catholic Church. You can go back and see what day the first day of that tour was with Metallica and Ozzy. It was June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Dio, who became the singer after Ozzy left Black Sabbath, just happened to die 201 days from Ozzy's birthday. And his wife just happens to be, his wife just happens to be born exactly 201. It's either weeks or months. I think it's weeks. His wife's born 201 weeks on the nose after Ozzy. So then who dies right after Ozzy? Well, Hulk Hogan dies. And Hulk Hogan, if you look at it, he's listed as 201 centimeters tall. He started fighting professionally in 1977. That's the year that the U.S. turned 201 years old. Him and Macho Man Randy Savage were used as the ultimate predictive programming for the destruction of the World Trade Centers. Are you guys familiar with that footage? Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, when they were the mega powers. And they
I remember.
The Twin Towers, it was Big Boss Man representing the police state with his police baton and a guy dressed up as a Muslim. And for anyone who's never seen that clip of Mega Powers versus Twin Towers, Mean Gene Okafor, he asked him, he goes, "What are you going to do about the Twin Towers and their terrorist attacks?" And then Randy Savage is like, "We won't stop until they come crumbling down." And Hulk goes, Hulk was known for having 24-inch pythons, as he referred to. He just died in the year of the snake on the 24th day of July. Twin Towers equals 49, which is the 33rd composite number. He died 49 days before the 24th anniversary of 9/11. And the day that he died, the majority of the world writes 24/7. World Trade Center equals 247. And for the record, the World Trade Centers came down 247 days after George Tenet took office as the head of the CIA. A reminder that Papa Bush was the head of the CIA as the 11th director back in 1968 when his son was getting out of Skull and Bones. And for the record, you run the alphabetical order in reverse, the letter CIA equals 68. So is the word terror. George W. Bush's favorite word, the terror. But again, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, just one more thing. They did that in 89. 89 is the 11th Fibonacci number, but it's also the 24th prime number. And for the record, the gospel, it's 89 chapters long, and Jesus equals 11 and number equals 89. But it sounds like you want to say something. I'll stop.
Well, no, I was just going to say you touched on 1977, and I don't know if you're familiar with 77 and the goat of Mendez and Crowley and all that stuff. Have you dug into that?
Absolutely. I mean, just 9/11. They tell you Flight 77 hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon. They say that plane took off at 8:20 and crashed at 9:37. That's 77 minutes later. Again, Washington, D.C. is on the 77th meridian. Secret Society equals 77, like United States equals 77.
Crowley wrote Libra Oz. That's 77. That's number 77, Libra Oz. Every plane that hit those buildings are reused in 9/11, all match Crowley books.
Exactly. And my buddy John Lee Chowbeck just dropped 77 Trust Fund Dork Boulevard. I don't know if y'all can check it out on Amazon. The whole book is just about 77 and 42 being the mother of, or, the number of the Dark Mother, which Crowley also talks about.
So have you guys seen the clip of when Ozzy was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner with George W. Bush? No. Back in 2002?
I don't know if I've seen it.
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, you got to watch it. Ozzy's there in attendance, and George W. Bush goes, Ozzy, Mom loves your stuff. And I'm sure you guys know the rumor about Barbara Bush being
Crowley's
the son
daughter.
of Alistair. Yeah, I said the son.
Yeah. Oh, you okay?
It might be the son. You just never know. But so okay. Do you know that George H.W. Bush and Barbara, they lost a child, Robin, on the eve of the anniversary of Crowley's birthday? Aleister Crowley, born October 12th, born in that 33-month October. They lost their child October 11th, 53. So it was after he died, but they lost a child on the eve of his birthday anniversary. Are you aware of this? Okay, so
not even a little bit.
So if you look it up, the Bushes lost their daughter Robin. So George W. Bush would have had a sister, but she died. The date, October 11th, 1953. If you add 10 plus 11 plus 19 plus 53, it adds up to 93. 93. And we know Aleister Crowley had thelema that worships 93. You think about the World Trade Centers, right? You got the 93 World Trade Center bombing. You got Flight 93 on that day. Do you guys know that the day of the World Trade Center bombing in 93, Michael Douglas's Falling Down came out that day?
Yeah, I remember that movie a lot. The best scene about it is that restaurant scene. Yeah, I remember that movie. That was a good.
Well, the best scene now that we're in the 2020s after the pandemic is what happens when he talks about inflation in the Korean owner's store. Do you remember that scene where he busts up the store because he's mad about how high the prices are?
Yeah.
Remember that? Fall it down?
Mm-hmm.
Go back. You can actually look it up.
He tore that convenience store up. Like he tore that shit up.
Do you remember that there's a street sign inside the store?
Nah, but I'm going to go back and watch it now because that's actually one of my favorite movies. You would never believe
what word is on that street sign inside the stores. He's blaming this Asian man for inflation and high prices. It's a beer is the clue. Can you guess what the word is?
What? I can't, bro. I'm not good with this.
Corona?
Corona.
Oh, shit, dude. Yo, I'm about to go see if I can find a snippet of it real quick.
I'm convinced now that all these events are just rituals, and they're using these numbers towards the rituals. Yeah.
By the way, I haven't promoted my book, but hold on.
Dude. Promote your book.
Hold on.
Yeah, Nick, you have to get my homeboy on, dude.
Yeah. Put me in touch with him. For real.
You guys don't have to buy this thing. Amazon's jacked the price up through the roof. It's ridiculous. And this is the only copy I have left of it. Last year when I was speaking out on the streets of Seattle, somebody came and jacked my last box of books. Anyway, and I should get more printed. But anyway, for the record, Wuhan coronavirus, 93. Okay, so let me go back to the date May 4th, 2002, when W says, Ozzy, Mom loves, and it's funny, you remember how retarded he was? He had to keep looking down at his lines. You know how the White House Correspondents' Dinner is where they try to tell jokes? This poor guy has to look down to remember every 4 words. He was in the middle of it, and he paused, and he looks down, and he looks up, Ozzy, Mom loves your stuff. That phrase in Gemantria equates to 93, okay? Again, Ozzy, who did this song, Mr. Crowley, and his death just had everything to do with. Oh, we can play this scene real quick. Yeah. Now, hey, you might get this. We might get eliminated for copyright, but
I was gonna say, Nick, damn it.
Yeah.
It's too late now.
If you just pause it and just skip through it until you find the Corona, it's there.
I can pause it. I just wanted to give people a representation of what we was talking about, because Falling Down, that it is a very interesting movie. So I'll close this out real quick and I'll pull up to see if I can find the where you said the sign was at.
It's in there. You can't miss it. Corona Street in the middle of the store. But okay. So the day that he does this is May 4th. Now keep in mind George W. Bush had just won the 54th election. For the record, Jesuit order equates to 54. Their headquarters is the Church of the Jesu, Building 54. At their pinnacle, they had 54 universities in the U.S. Their first university was founded by John Carroll at age 54. Just the other week, the guy who was traveling with the Annabelle doctor, he died on a Sunday at 54. Yeah. Did you catch that story?
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that. And Doll is missing now.
He died at 54 in Gettysburg, which equals 54. And he died 54 days before the new Conjuring movie comes out, which is a series that references the Annabelle doll.
Man, just say 54 is half of 108, which is the perfect number, right? Or known, alluded to be anyway. You know.
108 is there's so many. I mean, we could sit here and talk about this for 50 hours, but the word geometry equates to 108 forwards and 108 in reverse. There's not a whole lot of words that equal the same thing forwards and backwards.
That is interesting.
And the thing about 108. I was going to say the thing about 108 is it's the approximation that explains how we get eclipses on Earth. They say the sun is the diameter of the Earth 108 times across, and from the Earth to the sun is the diameter of the sun 108 times. And they say from the Earth to the moon is the diameter of the moon 108 times. And it's these distances that make the perfect eclipses happen. But okay, there's the thing about his tribute to Ozzy at the White House Correspondents' Center. May 4th is the 124th day of the year. That is the 93rd composite number. These people get mathematical. Of course, Papa Bush left office in 93. Barbara Bush in Gematria equals 93. Again, the day her name, Barbara Bush, is 93. The day their child died had a 93 connection. Again, as they leave office, just days after, as Bill Clinton's come in, you get the 93 World Trade Center bombing, a little precursor to what would happen once his son got back in there. And speaking of sun, I mean, they tell us over here with our wacky measurement system that the sun is 93 million miles away on average. And what's funny about that is in the metric system, the sun is 150 million kilometers away on average. Did you find the Corona Street here? Yeah, you did.
Yo, matter of fact, right before that happens, check this out. Right before that happens, just look at this part. This is crazy because it made me stick out. Why did they take a video of the flags falling down? Did you see that?
Exactly.
Like right before you hit Corona, look, they took a video of the. It's crazy. Like, what was it? Like, whose idea was it to be like, yo, let's just take a shot of the flags in the ground?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then you got this going on right here. The dude's fighting, whatnot. And then it goes into the back scene when he's back there. You can see it when it pops up right there. Watch. It's right there.
And he's Asian
Corona.
too, so I mean.
Boom.
Yeah, and the guy is Asian.
Yeah, you got Korea right here. Like, it's just crazy. Something like when I seen that, like this was one of my favorite movies. Like it was crazy awesome. how good it was. And matter of fact, when this movie came out, I was only 10 years old. I was born in '83.
And me too. Hey, we're the same age.
That's one of those
so it's crazy that you actually brought that up.
Fucking get old. Fuck.
I always come in at a time like, where it's in the middle of the movie or towards the end. I've never watched it from the beginning. I'll do that.
I wanted to point out, I don't know if you said this, forgive me if you did, but I mean, it's so simple. The 201 is just right next to and almost like a simplified, and 2001 is like an amplified version of it. And they're both related to 2, of course, which is.
Oh, what happened? Oh, he froze.
He froze.
Uh-oh.
They're on to us.
Oh, well.
Ethan froze.
Oh. I had something else, but if he comes back. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Sorry, I was saying that 2001 is almost like a 201 amplified, right? And the Pythagoreans, or at least Pythagoras, would spit every time he heard the number 2, which is almost, the basis of both those numbers. They did not like 2, the Pythagoreans, apparently.
Interesting.
So you got me thinking now, what is this right here? What's that? That got me thinking.
What?
You don't see that little, y'all can't see it on my screen, the carriage? What does that type of carriage look like?
Carriage?
You don't see it like right here, right? You see where his the horse? You see the horse?
It's the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even fucking tell what that is.
See, now I'm about to go take that in, chat GPT, and say, hey, what does this look
what
like?
Is that? Yeah, you could probably crop that and toss it in there. Yeah.
What do you...
To echo on the point you're making about how 201 was similar to the year 2001, it's the beginning of the 21st century. The word Jesuit with that most pure cipher, the one that's listed out Manly P. Halls, just Jesuit alone is 21. And so is the word Bible in that cipher. And keep in mind, 21's the sixth triangular number, the Bible for man made on the sixth day. The 21st century, beginning with 2001 and what happened, I mean, there's been a total agenda since that moment that has made America look anything but like what we thought America was. I'd argue that the country was always a lie, but I mean, we're not the land of the free, home of the brave. We're the land of the surveillance state. And there's so many things I like to talk about. If for people who have never noticed, Cooties 19 came 19 years after 9/11 and the 19 hijackers. Oh, nice.
I was going to ask you about the 19 thing.
The moon's on a 19-year cycle. It's about the moon.
Yeah, someone was asking in the chat. 19
years before 2001 was 1982. That's the year the war on drugs was officially declared by Reagan, who was the 33rd governor of California after being a Hollywood actor. For the record, Hollywood's another 33 word, and of course, Hollywood relates to magic, and magic's 33. But again, 19-year cycles of the moon, the war on drugs, the war on terror, the war on germs. These were all really a war on just the American people building a police surveillance state. And just like, again, the mega powers fighting the Twin Towers when one of them was Big Boss Man, the cop. Again, I talk about this stuff because I want people to catch on to the patterns. And if we live to see it, you can guarantee these people have another mega ritual really lined up for 2039. And again, it's like, I don't want to live to see it if people don't wake up at the rate we're going. Right. We might all witness it from living in Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, but it's yeah. Anyway,
it's a scary thing.
I wanted to add on that there's a lot of references to how, well, historical and esoteric on how 9/11 really birthed us into the new world. Right. Mm-hmm. As you pointed out, in the New World Order references, but just on a historical sense, like we're really in a whole new era. The last time this might have occurred, arguably, is when they did some other pole smashing during the origination and foundation of monotheism when they destroyed the Asherah polarity. Right. Well, and that was a whole other ritual of destroying the poles, which initiated this is a dynamic that's been playing out that for a long since then and maybe longer. But there's the scapegoat and there's the persona behind the scapegoat. You mentioned, the Jesuits and certain elements of Zionism, if you will, right? These have been there. One is in control, one is the scapegoat, and this has been going on a long time. But they destroyed the Asherah poles and kept the Yahweh pole, and now we have monotheism, which is the polarity of severity only, if you look at it in that respect. And that initiated that the last 2,000 years, and arguably that was a great initiation. Just like with Freemasonry, you have Hiram Abiff in between the two poles of Solomon, the Yakin and Boaz. That's the initiatory rite, one of the main ones anyway.
Yeah, and I was going to say these rituals may be opening or shifting our reality maybe into some kind of different timeline, or opening portals, tearing some kind of veil somewhere. I don't know. But
just scaring us and pinning us down too, even, right?
I want to know if Kobe Bryant's death had anything to do with that. I want to know if Kobe Bryant's death had it. Do you know anything of what Kobe Bryant and 33 or the correlation with any of that?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Hey, bring this scene up real quick, Nick, because this is why I said it.
I don't.
So for the record, remember they had to bury Kobe in Corona Del Mar right as this was kicking off, right?
Right.
In an unmarked grave. So I wrote a book before this called Letters and Numbers, and there's a big section on rig sports. And in that section, I talk about how the number, and keep in mind, this book was written before Kobe died at 41, but I wrote about how the number 41 defined Kobe Bryant's career. A lot of people overlooked it, but when he had his career high 81 in his 666th game, which we'll come back to, the rest of his team scored 41. In his last game where he scored 60, the rest of his team scored 41. And if you go back and look, when they took Kobe off the court, they even stopped the clock at 4.1 seconds. And in Gematria, Kobe Bryant equals 41. LA, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, well, LA, L's 12, the 12th letter, A's the first. It's 13 forwards, like his daughter was 13. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, L becomes 15, A becomes 26, LA becomes 41 in reverse. What's 41 plus 13? 54, dead on a Sunday when sun is 54. Kobe Bean Bryant, with his middle name, equates to 54. When you run it in reverse, Kobe Bean Bryant equates to 81, like he had his career high 81 in his 666th game. The phrase mark of the beast also equates to 54, like Kobe Bean Bryant, and 81 in reverse. There's a lot they do with this besides just Kobe. But again, Kobe scored an 81 in his 666th game. He was known for the 666 workout. Now, when Kobe died, he was traveling from Catholic Mass on a Sunday.
Yeah, look, the C and Black Mamba right there. Keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's a scene in the background right there. The letter C.
No, and that
you can see Black Mamba
666 workout too is too crazy. Like what? Like
Yeah, that's wild,
Who
man.
would put that out there?
Well, I mean, you've seen his little, like his book that he wrote for children, right? Where it's like this kid and he like.
If you guys want to know about Kobe's death, I got an 80-page chapter on Kobe's death in here. There's so much to it.
Zach, yeah, I'm gonna have to get that, but yeah, he has that book that he wrote where it's like a fallen angel.
Series. It's all coded out. It's all coded out. So, okay. Now, the year that the Lakers went on to win the finals that year, and not to toot my own horn, we put the sports book 5 Dimes out of business. And I think it's part of the reason I don't get any views. My viewership has been totally cut off since Kobe died. I can no longer get views. My views on Kobe, or the last time I got 500,000 views was when Kobe died. Now I get like 5,000 views. But again, I had everybody before Kobe even died on why the Lakers were going to win the finals that year. For the record, they ended up winning the finals. Remember, that season got changed because of Cootie's 19, so they ended up having the finals in October. They won the finals on Father-Daughter Day, if you want to look it up. After Kobe and his daughter died, the Lakers went on Father-Daughter Day, exactly 41 weeks after LeBron's birthday, when the word king equals 41. They call him King James. He'd won the only finals for the Cavs on the real King James's birthday, June 19th. And a lot of people missed the joke because King James's son was King Charles, and those who fought for King Charles in the English Civil War were Cavaliers. That's why King James is on the Cavs. But again, the day that LeBron got sent to the Lakers, that was on the 1st of July, 1-7. And I told everybody that day, I said, look at that, going from Ohio, the 17th state, to LA. We call the NBA the 17 league. N's the 14th letter, B's the second, A's the first, put it together, N17. I said, mark my words, LeBron's 17th season, he'll win the Lakers their 17th championship. And at that point, they became tied with the Celtics 17 all. But they had to sacrifice Kobe that year. And here's the pairing that always happens. 74-33. Kobe. 4 letters. K's the 11th letter, O's the 15th, B's the 2nd, E's the 5th. Kobe, 33. Kobe dies in the 74th NBA season on a Sunday. Here's all these words with just the most simple cipher, the alphabetic order. No numerology, is just alphabetic order. Jesus equals 74. Cross 74. Messiah 74. Gospel 74. Parable 74. The English translation of Jesus is Joshua. Joshua equals 74. Jesus was from Judea. Jewish 74. The word English is 74. Gematria 74. Here we are on the occult rejects. Occult equals 74, meaning hidden. Hidden in plain sight, right, using the alphabetic order. There's a lot more to that 74 list, including the word killing and holiday. You think about this nation, 3 of the first 5 presidents died on 7-4. People this year on 7-4. Very deadly day on 7-4. The poor people there in Kerrville, they got the alert at 1:14 in the morning, which is the 74th minute of the day. That town was named after James Kerr, who was a hero in the history book in the Texas Revolution, which ended on Rome's birthday. This year we lost the Pope on Rome's birthday. The Texas Revolution ended on April 21st. From April 21st to July 4th is 74 days. A wicked thing about that Kerrville wipeout on 7-4 this year is that James Kerr's birthday is the 24th of September. The majority of the world writes that date 249. This was the country's 249th birthday. Who else was dead in the news this year was Tupac Amaru Shakur's sidekick from the Outlaws, supposedly offed himself at age 47 on the 4th of July. Tupac used that alias Machiavelli, which equals 74 like rapper, but the real Tupac Amaru, he died on 24th of September, 24/9. So this year on the 249th birthday, you have this thing in Kerrville, and the Tupac associate. Here's the other more wild one. Have you ever heard Lyndon Johnson's speech from 1962 to Texas State University, where in that speech he talks about the future of weather control and a weather satellite to control the world's cloud layer, and who controls the weather controls the world? Lyndon Johnson from Texas. Have you listened to that speech?
No.
Oh, look it up. Look up Lyndon Johnson, 1962. Talking about the future of weather control, and he says they're developing a weather satellite. This is the phrase he uses. Lyndon Johnson is from Texas. Weather satellite in Gemantria equates to 249. So you mean to tell me on the U.S.'s 249th birthday in a town with a man who was born on 24/9, this just happens to happen? It's not an accident. And it's just like how Jefferson and Adams died on the same day together, July 4th, 1826. They were the two most outspoken founders about how the Jesuits could throw this country into destruction if they come out of suppression and do what they'd done in America with the same thing they'd done in Europe. Monroe, who was also outspoken against the Catholic Church, died on July 4th. And funny enough, again, Jefferson and Adams died in 1826. 1,826 days later is July 4th, and Monroe's dead. Probably the three most outspoken presidents at the start of the country against the church, and the Jesuits just all happened to die on 7/4. And Romans, another word that equals 74. Killing and stabbing are 74. The Ides of March is the 74th day of the year to remember the stabbing of Caesar. I could go on and on and on and on. But yeah, 74 and 33. Out of the 50 states, only one equates to 74, and it's Oregon. Oregon equals 74. It's abbreviated OR. O is the 15th letter, R is the 18th, 33. Oregon is the 33rd state in order of statehood, and it's no slouch of a state. It's the state that's largely credited for westward expansion. But the 74 and 33 in death rituals, Kobe's probably the biggest one ever, but it really happens. Case in point, Ozzy Osbourne just died exactly 33 weeks after his birthday on a date with 74 numerology, 7/22, 7 plus 22 plus 20 plus 25, July 22nd, 2025 is 74, which of course will break down to 11, which will break down to 2. And funny enough, 33 weeks is 231 days. His wife's name equals 231, and they were married on the 4th of July. I don't think that's an accident either. Another thing that equals 74 is London, and it's divided into 33 neighborhood areas and so on and so forth. But yeah, Kobe's here's the piece about Kobe. So from Kobe's last birthday, remember how when Kobe died, they said he was in a pharmaceutical lawsuit over his Black Mamba branding? You remember this?
Yeah, I remember that.
So if you measure from Kobe's last birthday, by the way, the movie Angel Has Fallen came out on Kobe's last birthday. He dies in the city of Angels. And he fell out of the sky is the story, right? His helicopter crashed. Angel Has Fallen. But from his last birthday to the day that the pandemic was declared, after he's buried in Corona del Mar on March 11th, that was 201 days. And that day the pandemic was declared, 3/11, March 11th. It's also the day they did the tribute in light after the World Trade Centers came down, those purple beams. So the day Fukushima happened in 2011. But 3/11 is the number 201 in base 8 counting. That's a whole nother topic in a sense. Do you also remember how there was the massive earthquake on the 4th of July, and then the next day on July 5th in 2019 in Southern California, and the epicenter was on the China Lake military base?
I remember the earthquake.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember the massive earthquake on the 4th of July and then the next day?
No, I remember the earthquake.
It was felt all Southern California, surrounding states. You guys forgot that? If you go back and look,
your memory is impeccable.
Well, the epicenter was on a military base. Other words that equal 74. Nuclear, energy, and weapon all equal 74. Run them in reverse, they all equal 88. Yesterday, somehow the magnitude went from 8 to 8.7, which it stayed for a long time, like Russia's 87, then jumped up to 8.8, which it's like, how does this even happen? Because an 8.8 is almost 16 times stronger than an 8. It's like, that's not a slight miscalculation. That's like, they're not even in the same ballpark. So, and it seemed like a bunch of fear mongering, but it's a whole nother story. Anyway, that China Lake earthquake, from that day to the first case of Cooties 19 being discovered in the U.S. was 201 days later. And again, at the Event 201 simulation, the only two CDCs of the world that participated were China and the U.S. Again, it was the World Economic Forum, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Johns Hopkins, which was founded by a Skull and Bones member. For the record, Skull and Bones equals 201. The movie The Skulls came out 201 days after Paul Walker's birthday. R.I.P. But yeah, 201 days from the China Lake military base earthquake that was huge to the first case of Cooties 19. And where was the first case of Cooties 19 in the world? In Bill Gates' backyard, where his foundation's across the street from the world's biggest needle. Not to mention William Henry Gates equals 201 and Melinda French Gates. The Jesuits are from France. Her birthday is the Jesuit order's birthday. She's from a family of Jesuit priests. Again, just all of this perfect ritualism was all connected and leading up to a moment. Jumping around, there was something I was going to say earlier when we were talking about 201 and 93. Do you remember when Alec Baldwin smoked the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust right before Ukraine-Russia broke out? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was very weird, that whole situation.
Look at this.
I didn't know she was, I didn't.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I didn't know. Go ahead. I didn't know she was Ukrainian. Was she? Did you say she was Ukrainian?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that.
So he smokes a Ukrainian woman in a church shootout scene on the set of Rust right before Ukraine Russia. So look, if you measure from Baldwin's birthday, which is the 93rd day of the year, April 3rd, to the day he shot the Ukrainian woman, it's 201 days later. In all the reporting, they said he shot her at 1:50 p.m. So check this out. Again, order of Illuminati equals 201. Heliocentrism equals 201. Again, the Illuminati is founded by a Jesuit. Their symbol's the sun, the thing that illuminates the world. By the way, in Hebrew, 201 represents knowledge, enlightenment, like you're illuminated in the occult. Funny enough, in English, the phrase knowledge is power is 201. Funny enough. But, okay. The word
I say that shit a lot.
The word Illuminati equals 150. They say the sun is 150 million kilometers away on average. Order of Illuminati with numerology, instead of 201, it becomes 93, like how they say the sun is 93 million miles away. So Baldwin, who's born on the 93rd day of the year, smokes this Ukrainian woman 201 days after his birthday at 1:50 local time, right before Biden and Putin meet 201 days into the first Jesuit nation year, before it pops off in the Donbass region 201. But Baldwin's birthday, remember when it happened, they compared it to Brandon Lee dying on the set of The Crow. Well, what day was Brandon Lee buried? Oh, he was buried on Alec Baldwin's birthday on the 93rd day of 93. And when he died, when Brandon Lee died, they compared it to his father, Bruce Lee, in the movie Game of Death. Bruce Lee died while filming Game of Death on the 201st day of the year, July 20th, the anniversary of the moon landing, the thing illuminated. For the record, Neil Alden Armstrong equals 201, the first man to walk on the moon on the 201st day of the year, who carried the Scottish Rite flag there when rites of the Scottish Rite were written by Jesuit priests. And that's why they share the Ad Merum Dei Gloriam motto at the 32nd degree. But, okay. So, again, Bruce Lee, 201, Brandon Lee buried on the 93rd day of 93. And where are their bodies buried? Do you guys know where Brandon and Bruce Lee are buried?
No.
Mm-mm.
They're buried right next to the Jesuit University in Seattle. They're buried right next to Seattle
That's
University.
Crazy.
Jesuit
That's
School.
too much. Man, that's crazy.
You can't make this shit up.
Yo, right?
Yeah, I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I grew up in Portland and spent most of my adult life in Seattle. But yeah, the Odd Fellows organization was 201 years old when the chop was going on in Seattle after the George Floyd thing, and everyone was crawling all over the 201-year-old Odd Fellows building. If you remember that. And just for the record about George Floyd, his full name, George Perry Floyd 201, killed exactly 201 weeks after Adama Traore, whose name was protested with George Floyd in Europe. Adama Traore was killed in Paris, France on the 201st day of the year. In Paris, France, where the Jesuits are from. And for the record, International Chess Day is celebrated on the 201st day of the year, and it came out of Paris, France. And it's like these people are making moves. They got their chess moves all over the place. With regards to George Floyd, when January 6th happened, do you remember how the George Floyd protests led to the destruction of the Albert Pike statue in D.C., the only Confederate statue? You remember this?
Yep.
For the record, the word Confederate equals 201, and Lincoln blamed the Civil War on the Jesuits. A lot of people don't know that. They don't teach us that in our 13 years of slave school while we pledged to 13 stripes. So everyone can look it up. Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on the Jesuits. And if you read his full quote, he says at the start of the war, he didn't even know who the Jesuits were. But anyway, John Surratt, the guy who got away from the assassination, was a Jesuit, and they executed John Surratt's mom. That's also left out of our slave school teachings about the theater killing. It just makes you wonder about the whole thing. But the reason I'm bringing this up about Albert Pike is Albert Pike's statue comes down, and then 201 days later, January 6th happens, and the Confederate flag is flying. Again, the word Confederate is 201 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse.
What the fuck?
Anyway, that's what I'm saying. You got to learn this number because they use it all the time in Major League Ritual. And again, this thing has to do with knowledge and enlightenment. It's like the people that are in the light are flaunting everyone in the dark who doesn't have a clue and getting them to fight over all to try bullshit. And again, you look at this too. Beau Biden, dead at 46, 201 days before the Pope's birthday. Pope Francis at the time, the first Jesuit, the first to live in Suite 201. The word Catholic's 46, like sacrifice is 46, like Genesis 46 about sacrifice. Excuse me, run out of breath. Exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, we told people this was going to happen more than a year before it happened. Biden gets elected as number 46. Again, the only other Catholic president was killed at age 46, Kennedy. The next election, Trump, we had this Jesuit Ignatian year that began May 20th, the 500th anniversary of Ignatius Loyola being shot, and then it ended July 31st the next year, so it ran more than a typical calendar year. Trump's ex-wife dies July 14th, 2022, exactly 60 weeks into the first ever Jesuit Ignatian year. If you check the headlines that day, the first headline from Trump is he said, "I'm going to run in the upcoming election," which is the 60th. By the way, Donald Trump equals 60. Then the next headline is, "Conservatives against Trump based on 60 legal cases he's fighting." And this is before all the indictments. Alvin Bragg equals 60, indictment equals 60. But Trump's ex-wife dies exactly 60 weeks into the first Jesuit Ignatian year leading up to the 60th election. That's why you're having all this 60 minutes fallout and it did so many 60 rituals with Trump lately. But then he buries his ex-wife on July 20th, the 201st day of the year. And by the way, with regards to the 201, go back and see what Jesuit priest, who was the former head of Georgetown, did the funeral for Beau Biden and the inauguration for Joe Biden. His name is Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, which equals 201. Just happened to do the funeral for Beau at age 46 and then does the inauguration for Joe on 20/1, which again is the 201st day of the nation's age. And again, just going back further in history, the CIA created September 18th, 1947. That was the 201st day of the sitting Pope's age, Pope Pius XII at the time. For the record, Catholic Pope also equals 201. The Jesuits served the Pope. The CIA created on the 201st day of the Pope's age. The words in the CIA's logo, Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America, 201. Their motto, the work of a nation, the center of intelligence, 201. And again, it's the CIA that has the crypto statue outside with the encoded messages in the letters. That is the same Gemantria thing. Again, you guys, you learn this. It's so obvious who really runs this nation. And Howard Hunt, the former CIA agent, he has the quote about the Jesuits being the greatest intelligence network in the world. And it's largely because of confessional. Those Catholic, when you go confess to your priest, make sure they're not a Jesuit because it's not staying there in the box. And again, I know I'm rambling and hitting a few different things, but I'm trying to help people see the picture of 201 and what's going on in history and in this nation. There's a lot more to it, but man, we've hit a lot. Please go ahead.
Anybody got anything?
I was just going to say, it's interesting that we keep bringing up Albert Pike in here because a lot of you was talking about the 3 numbers and you said something about Albert Pike, and I wanted to say this back in the earlier. A lot of people are missing him, misidentifying him, or saying that he was the leader and the founder of the KKK, and that's a 3-number acronym
That's
for it.
3, right? The 311s.
Yeah, you was talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this is my first time to ever really have a discussion about Gemantria so this was fantastic, to be completely honest with you. I'm even more mind blown than I was at the beginning. So, this stuff doesn't cease to amaze me, and you really can't make this shit up.
It's so funny because I got to say this. I've read Albert Pike's book. Like I said, I have a lot of tabs on here. Like I'm not even joking. Like I have a lot of tabs in there. And when you read this book, I get the sense that he was, it was all about just being a good person. Well, one person in history that told us to be a good person was Jesus Christ. Now, I know a lot of people say he had a lot of relationship with the KKKs and stuff like that. But when you read this book, it's literally nothing about but being a good person and literally just having knowledge of some sort. It's really in depth. Like I want the older version too, just to see what the comparison is, of course, because this is, a reprint of it, but there's nothing negative in here. You know what I'm saying? And for his name to be, associated with racism and stuff like that, you don't get that from this book. And I doubt that half the people who says he's racist or has some that kind of negative ideas about him probably have not even picked up these versions of the book and read them. Like, I don't know where they get a lot of this stuff from, because this is morals and dogma for a reason. The title's labeled that for a reason. So I just challenge people to go and read this book before they say anything negative about the person, and read this book, because I'm telling you that I have more tabs in this book than there are pages. And it's crazy. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a show on it, and I actually had a discussion with somebody that was saying that they pulled up a lot of quotes that Albert Pike says, but if you go into the back of the book, a lot of these are quotes from somewhere else. It's not his words. So when people pull up quotes and all this other stuff about him, they really don't understand where they're getting the information from. They're just saying that, oh, well, it's in his book, so he must have said it. No, damn it, you got to read the book to understand what the context was. You have to go in there and see if he's quoting somebody else. You got to remember, back in those days, they didn't quote people like we do. We have to do it because of fair usage, right? They just usually put the quotes next to it, and that's about it. Now we're to the point where you have to put the quotes, and you have to give the credit to the person that before. But I'm telling you, this book right here, it's crazy. It's literally a book that every Mason was supposed to read at a certain point in their life and their degree in their in the Masons. Like, they had to pick up this book to understand it and read it. And it's a lot. You can see a lot of it going back to the ancient Egyptians. You can see a lot of it going to the Mesoamericans, Mesopotamians. It's crazy how so much information is in here. And if anybody that talks about Albert Pike and why they took down the statue and all this other stuff have not read this book, and like you said earlier, are we programmed to believe something just because we've seen it on TV? TV is supposed to have been this whole class. Remember back in the day, they made it a point to say, if you watch the news did their due diligence and they did their research. Now it's whoever gets the information out there the fastest. But then you start seeing why they putting the information out the fastest, because they're not putting it in words. They're putting it in numbers on how we should see it and stuff like that. So I just challenge everybody to pick up, if you really want to know who Albert Pike was and what he knew and what information he brought into, this is the book to get.
I have read it. I don't remember it though.
I'm gonna break into it now.
Anything negative in there that you can remember?
No.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it almost reminds me of what Jesus would have been at that time frame about what he was trying to share to people. I'm serious.
I'll be totally serious with you. There hasn't been anything. Well, I'll leave Crowley out of this. Take him out, because then you can't really tell what he was getting at. But anybody was anybody in the occult, I've never read a book that actually told you to do anything fucked up. Yeah, just keep it real. I haven't. You know, I don't know if you have. You? No, you haven't either, right? I read all these books on Kabbalah and I see no fucking rituals in there either. Where the fuck is this shit coming from? I still haven't come across this fucking humiliation ritual I see everybody talking about. Where the fuck is this? Out of all these books that I've read, where the fuck is this ritual? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is when I bought this book when they took down his statue. I bought it because they was like, he was I grew up in the South. I've seen KKK members before, so I know what it is. But I also did a mythology drop on there, and a lot of that stuff goes back to the ancient times, and all it does is just mean pure bloodlines. But there's no different than when God had His own chosen people. So it's just like, what is really going on? Because God had a chosen people. I said this yesterday. If you was a Christian, you wasn't God's chosen person. If you was a Catholic, you wasn't God's chosen person. He had a certain group of individuals that He had a chosen people that He would do anything for. You know what I mean? And it's just interesting that when you pick up this book, you don't get the sense of negativity that so many people have put out there. And like I said, most of the people who are probably saying negative things about Albert Pike, and I'm not going one way or another, I'm just saying from what I've read personally, this is what this man put into words in his own book under his own name. So now you got to tell me, where did you get this negativity stuff from? And you have to give me a source, not from somebody that disliked him, but somebody who read his stuff and said, this is what he said, and this is the proof.
That's well said. Thank you, sir. I don't even know what brought all that on, but
no, because we just talked about Albert Pike. It's just crazy, bro. Like it's just crazy.
But there's a lot of ignorance and a lot of broad strokes just painted about Masonry in general. There's a lot of people that just contend that every last Mason is evil, and that's simply not it. I mean, there's a lot of people in the Blue Lodges who are just looking for brotherhood and to learn information and to have some people to drink with. It's just like right now, there's so many people attacking Ozzy Osbourne for being a Satanist, and most of them are Christians. It's like, did you ever listen to his music? Because he actually advocated for Christ, and he wrote about, like, have you contemplated death and your soul? And
if you listen to his music, if you read his lyrics, he's talking about what the fuck's going on right now.
Lord of this world. Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
All these metal bands that were deemed Satanists, if you listen to their music, they were telling you what the fuck was coming 25 years ago.
And they were talking about Judas Priest and stuff in the news. They weren't bringing up bands like Merciful Fate and, King Diamond and stuff like that were actually part of the LaVeyan Church of Satan, so. Yeah,
I'm actually a big
King Diamond fan.
Just
with regards to LaVey, just for the record, LaVey, the supposed father of the Church of Satan, he died 201 days from his own birthday and 201 days from the sitting Pope's birthday.
Yeah.
And are you guys familiar with Mark Passio?
Yeah.
I've heard the name.
Yeah.
He talks about the occult. He's Jesuit educated out of Philadelphia. He's real arrogant about it. And he always brags about being a hand-picked priest in the Church of Satan by LaVey. I tried to call him so many times to talk about this information. I had to call his show 50 times before he finally took my call. And I'd be on hold while people would call in and say, like, are you familiar with Zach Hubbard? And it says in his thing, he can see everybody's name from who's calling in. He's like, I think I heard it. This guy finally takes my call in episode 201 at the very end of the show and rushes me off real quick and then never picked up again, because he even said, I'd like to follow up more on this. I call back the next week, doesn't pick up.
He was trolling you doing that, dude.
Yo, that is funny shit.
He was trolling me. I look at him now, I'm like, Jesuit educated and former member of the Church of Satan who knew LaVey, and here LaVey died in a big 201 show, and he doesn't really want to talk that much about it.
Yeah.
There's always somebody angry out there if there's Mark Passio podcast.
Wait, can you? I love the correspondences of all the 201 time frame, but what is that essence behind the symbolism of 201? Like, what's the flavor of 201?
Death.
So again, in Hebrew, it's corresponded with knowledge and enlightenment. There's a book called Sefer Sapphires, and the author for that book uses a pen name, Wade Coleman. It's not his real name, but Wade Coleman equals 201. He's the first person I learned about this from, about 201's original meaning. He writes about it in his book early in the book. It's a hard book to come across. If you find it online, you're going to be spending at least a few $100. Certain copies are thousands of dollars, so there's not too many out there. But anyone can look up what 201 means in Hebrew and see that is the case. So again, it has to do with knowledge and enlightenment. And like I said, the Jesuit order is 201. So is Order of Illuminati, which is first Adam Weishaupt called it the Bavarian Illuminati, and then he called it Order of Illuminati. He ended up dying 201 days in history from the anniversary of its establishment, dying on November 18th, the 322nd day of the year. But yeah, 201 has to do with knowledge. For the record, the Holy Bible equates to 201. Bible alone is 21, like Jesuit. And like I said, 21st century starts off with a bang with this tribute to the Tower of Babel. You're on Gematrix. That's not QAnon. So Jewish gematria in English is not the same as Hebrew gematria.
Yeah, that's why I was going to ask you what was your favorite website to use for that backup for gematria.
Well, when I first started, I didn't even realize there were websites that had this. When I started, I did everything by hand. A gentleman named Derek, he built the calculator Gematrinator, almost like the Terminator, Gematrinator.com. And recently he monetized it, though, so you have to pay a subscription to use a lot of the features. But it's still a lot better than this calculator, even the free service. This is the original online Gematria calculator, though. The only two that existed before Gematria that I was aware of is this, which are at gematrix.org, and also Riding the Beast. Notice Mars is 201 in Jewish. Actually, here, do me a favor on that cipher. Or it might be hard to do it in Gematria. Type in Tisha B'Av, Tishbav. That's to remember the destruction of the two temples.
Say it again, TISH.
Yeah, and then space, and then BAV. Tisha B'Av. Check this out, you guys. Tisha B'Av is this weekend this year. It's August 2nd and August 3rd. It's remember the destruction of the two temples. In English, Tisha B'Av equals 82. So does Black Sabbath. The first day of Tisha B'Av is the real Black Sabbath. So this year, Tisha B'Av, which will be a different date, it'll be 19 years from this year that it falls on August 2nd again. It won't be until, what's that, 2044, it'll fall on August 2nd again. But think about that. Ozzy's dead right before the real Black Sabbath. Ozzy's also dead 82 days before Aleister Crowley's birthday. Today they had his funeral. No, you have a B at the end. You need a V. V
yeah. Tisha B'Av is 82.
No, and you need an A after the H. TISHA. Now hit it. But hold on, before I show you what's down here, again, Ozzy just died 82 days from Crowley's birthday anniversary. Black Sabbath 82, Tisha B'Av 82. The real one falls this year on August 2nd. And if you look at, they're hyping the solar eclipse for August 2nd, 2027 already, because it's going to be the longest in the next 150 so years. Yeah, leave that up there. Wow. Today they had Ozzy's funeral, which is a date with 82 numerology, and they announced the death of the Iron Maiden singer today, as well, another British metal band. He's dead on the 102nd day of his age, and Iron Maiden equals 102.
Bruce Dickinson, man.
No, it was somebody else. I thought it was Bruce Dickinson. It was their original singer.
The way this list is put together isn't as good as it is in Gematria, but you see how Tisha B'Av is 911? Can you scroll down through this list? There's probably something about the Divine Feminine. There might be something, the secret code of the Freemasons.
Yeah, right there. It's the first one, Divine Feminine.
Go down, though, because Tisha B'Av is to remember the destruction of the two temples. 911, the
Superman
two towers.
Day.
Division.
Anunnaki Prusian. Oh, hell, I'm about to get deep in this.
Look at that. You see, no. Don't scroll past Al-Qaeda terrorist attack. Look at how these things are 9/11 in the same cipher.
Wow. Yeah, that's bugged out.
Keep going down.
Obama restored the Moors. What the fuck? Oh, man, I'm about to go deep diving in this shit.
Keep going down. Vatican Hill. Two towers.
He got excited when he saw the Anunnaki.
Yeah, I sure
Jihadists. Do you know about the book, The Final Jihad, by the brother of the governor of Oklahoma when Oklahoma City blew up?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you know about the book, The Final Jihad, written by the brother of the governor of Oklahoma?
No.
I've heard there was a book. I don't know if it was that one, but I do remember about that.
You should look into it because that book came out before 9/11. Terrorists hijacked planes and fly them into towers. And there's a Tom McVeigh in the book.
Female topless legal a match 10. What the hell? 1776.
What the hell?
You guys know Manhattan was discovered in history on September 11th, don't you?
No.
Female.
Yeah, look it up. Manhattan's discovery date in the history book is September 11th.
No.
I wanted to mention a lot of the systematic inversion of knowledge, right? Using the meaning of 201 in an inversion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with 9/11, there was before it happened, there was a celebratory event taking place in downtown Manhattan. Satyagraha.
Ladies?
Satyagraha is initiated on 9/11. It is kind of like knowledge, and then what happened, there's the inversion, but Satyagraha is the celebration of the peaceful era on Earth, which was happening on that day. And obviously it's an Indian tradition.
Bro, you blowing my mind right now. Eazy-E? What the hell?
Well, here, Eazy-E. Eazy-E died 201 days from his birthday, synced up with Ice Cube's Lethal Injection album. The Tuskegee experiment had 201 men in the control group. They say he got pricked. And the Eazy-E, he had Ruthless Records, which equals 201. Bone Thugs and Harmony are his discovery. Do you know what Bone Thugs and Harmony name was supposed to be before it was changed to Bone Thugs?
No.
The Band-Aid Boys, which equals 201. I guess they were the original Nellies. But
Shit.
all these 201s and again, super suspect death with Eazy-E, which had to do with getting pricked. Do you remember how before the jab came out, how Idris Elba was on, they were using him on social media? Idris Elba, the actor who made it on The Wire, HBO, founded by a Jesuit.
Great show,
but
though.
they were using Idris Elba to tell black people that they needed to stop with the online conspiracy theories, and they were most susceptible to the virus, and they needed to get the pokey doke as soon as it came out. Were you aware of that?
No,
Around
didn't know
that
that you,
same
Tim.
time-
I knew that they were putting like little propaganda out there, but
If you go back and look, that's what they had him up to. Around that same time, you remember Michael K. Williams, who played Omar on The Wire?
yes.
You know he's dead, right?
Right, yeah.
He died on Idris Elba's birthday. And he died at 54, like Jesuit Order's 54. And if you've seen The Wire, the first episode, the Wire always has the date to start the episode. The date of the first episode is May 4th, 5/4. Michael K. Williams ends up dead at 54. There's more to it as
That's
well.
wild, man.
Idris Elba was in the movie Bastille Day. That movie released do you guys remember the Bastille Day attacks in France the other year when the white truck ran over the crowd of people? Remember that story? On Bastille Day in France about a decade ago?
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the white truck in the media was just as clean as a whistle, even though it supposedly ran over 100 people.
Hey, look at that right there. The beast is artificial intelligence, bro. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this shit is getting deep.
You know what's in Revelation 9:11, right?
Now remind me.
Pull it up. Yeah, Revelation 9:11 and Genesis 11:9, beginning and end. Both the verses seem to tie in with what happened that day. And yeah, I mean, some of this 9/11 stuff might mean nothing, but all those ones that sync up with what happened on September 11th, from jihadists to Al-Qaeda terrorist attack to T-Bov to division. There probably is something about the divine feminine. I know you guys had Rambo on the other week. For people who know, Rambo used to do my nightly show with me every Wednesday. I was on Truth Frequency Radio for years before the network went under, and Rambo started calling my show about a year into it, and I was like, this guy is super knowledgeable. I just need to make him my co-host. But
I would point out the polarity of Asherah being destroyed. That it's kind of foundational of monotheism. She embodies the divine feminine, right? So, which is related to the polarity of the towers coming down. Anyway,
I was just gonna say, Rambo talks a lot about the divine feminine, so he'd probably be able to really connect the dots on that. That's not my cup of tea.
I was gonna say they kind of hid that throughout, the Bible, right? Like they took the divine feminine aspect out of it.
That was actually the ending of paganism in the area, one could argue, is when they removed the divine feminine, which was Yahweh's counterpart.
Hold on, don't move that. Keep that up there while you're talking. I want to say something about the Ethiopian thing real quick. When you guys are done talking.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it doesn't seem like these rituals would be, I don't know if they could even complete them if these numbers aren't involved. You know?
Again, it's
like
just
the
like the
framework,
Mason's
right?
X on the temple. All is number. The number is the most central thing to the ritual.
Right.
It's again, once you learn this, you'll realize it really is all about numbers with these people. But September 11th in most years is the Coptic Christian New Year. Okay? And a lot of people contend that September 11th is actually Jesus' real birthday. What's described in the Bible lines up a lot more with that time of year. And keep in mind, that's the time of Virgo. It's the end of summer. It's 3 days after what the Catholic Church celebrates as the Virgin Mary's birthday is September 11th. The Virgin Mary's birthday is September 8th. Recently, the Queen died 201 days after her COVID diagnosis on the Virgin Mary's birthday. And remember, Corona means crown. I was like in my fifth version of the book. I still haven't finished at the time. I was just waiting for somebody in the royal family to die from cooties. And I said, look at that. They do the Queen on the Virgin Mary's birthday 201 days after her COVID diagnosis. Another thing that I should bring up about 201 is the major act of terrorism in the U.S. before 9/11 was what? 95?
I was a kid, man. I
Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
OKC, right. And you see
Okay.
77 a lot in that.
So look at this. Joe Biden was instrumental in passing the nation's first counterterrorism legislation. For the record, the word counterterrorism is 201. He passed it on Governor Keating's birthday just before Oklahoma City blew up, the first time that they needed to put this counterterrorism legislation to work. The timing was just immaculate. But he passes it on February 10th, Keating's birthday. Oklahoma City blows up 68 days later. Terror equals 68. Remember all those things that went down in 1968 that led up to 9/11? Not to mention McVeigh was put to death at 33, 3 months to the day of 9/11. He was executed on June 11th. What's funny is Timothy McVeigh equals 201. Terry Lynn Nichols' accomplice is 201. Mercury Marquis is 201. They're arrested in the Mercury Marquis on a Wednesday named after Mercury the Trickster. And if you look at the periodic table, Mercury is the only element that's in the ballpark of 201 in terms of its atomic mass. It's 200.9? It's close. It's practically 201. But this year's NBA Finals. So the other thing I educate about is, look, I got to throw a little shade at. You had Rambo on last week, and again, Rambo now runs with the other kid you had came on who annoys the hell out of me because he just parrots my work and he's not very good at explaining it. And he emulated everything I do, including setting up a Patreon to decode sports just like mine, except for he sucks at it. You know, he had Xavier in this last year's March Madness where it was a no-brainer why Todd Golden would win on 4-7 in the time of Trump, number 47 in his golden age. But anyway, sorry, I just got to keep it real. I can't stand that little goofball that Rambo runs around with now because it's just sad. Did he give any credit to me? He parrots my work and shouts out all these other fake wannabes of myself. Again, total clown. But anyway, I'm going to call spades because that's exactly what it is. Parrots my work and gives credit to the other wannabes who all learn from me. It makes me sick, really. And it also disgusts me. I still like Rambo because he's knowledgeable and intelligent. And it's just like last week, I saw the comments. Nobody said, oh, that other guy was great. They like what Rambo has to say because Rambo is brilliant. But anyway, I won't say any more on it.
Yeah.
Anyhow, sorry, I got tangential about that.
That's okay.
Just about sports. So this year's NBA Finals. Look at how they do this stuff, you guys. It's just sick. The sport. All of the American sports are credited to Freemasons. For football, it's Walter Camp, who's a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason, also a member of Yale Skull and Bones. For basketball, it's Naismith. For baseball, it's Abner Doubleday. So DC's the Masonic city. A lot of founders Masons. The sports and the news and the politics, when you follow it, you see how it's all connected, and they're constantly paying tribute to history. So this year's NBA Finals, Oklahoma City, who used to be the Seattle Sonics, they win the 79th NBA season. And in history, the Sonics had the only championship they had won was in 79. Now, who lost in the college championship in 79? It was Larry Bird from Indiana. So this year, the Oklahoma City Thunder beat Indiana. Now, who was executed in Indiana? Timothy McVeigh was. And if you look up the box score from the NBA Finals game this year on June 11th, that was the anniversary of Timothy McVeigh getting executed. In Gemantria, the word execution equals 116, like the date June 11th can be written 11/6. Indiana won, beating Oklahoma City with 116 points on the anniversary of his execution. This year, the NBA playoffs began on April 19th, which is the day in history that Oklahoma City blew up. And again, McVeigh said he was responding to Waco, where David Koresh was killed at 33. McVeigh's put to death at 33. Koresh was this supposed Jesus-like figure, except for I don't remember Jesus ever saying, sorry, men, drop your wives off here. Only I can fucking So anyway, that point aside, by the way, Alex Jones, the little plant came out of that, and Alex Jones equals 33. It's a whole nother story. So many 201s with Oklahoma City. You know what's crazy is I was going to start an annual tradition of going to Oklahoma City to expose what they did there. So I had a fairly large gathering show up April 19th, 2022. And I was majorly financially punished by this through the internet for doing this. But what was crazy is as soon as I got to the grounds, I got there 3 days before the April 19th anniversary. I was planning to go to the museum. Oh, by the way, if you look up the Masonic Lodge that's right behind the Alfred P. Murrah building, for people know there's a Masonic, well, it used to be the Masonic Lodge. Now there's businesses in there, but it still recognizes the Masonic building. The building has a plaque that says that after the explosion, the building was sold for $201,000. Again, with all these 201s. But the point I'm making is we showed up there to educate about the ritual.
Can I ask, that's confounding. Who sold it to who? Do you know, for the $201,000?
That's a good question. It doesn't give you that piece of information. It just says that it was sold for $201,000 after the explosion damage. That's insane. Yes. Now there's businesses in there, but it still says it's etched on the outside that it's the Masonic building. It's got, your compass and square and G. If I remember right, they have an interesting sculpture with all these little figures with 33 different people. If you take the time to count them up there in the lobby, nice little checkerboard flooring when you come in. But anyway, the point is when I showed up there, what's the band that does the intro music for South Park?
Primus.
Oh yeah.
What's crazy is Primus was opening their current tour on the anniversary of the explosion there, and their hit song at the time was making fun of conspiracy theorists, making fun of people questioning the pokey dope, and I just thought, look at this shit. But anyway, when I showed up at the museum, with the building that blows up now museum, I was blown away. There was a wall of security out there, and as I walked up, I'm not making a video or anything. I was just going in there I want to go through the museum and see if I could learn anything new from going through it and just reading about all the artifacts and all this. When I show up, they say, "Are you Zachary Hubbard?" And I said, "Yeah." These people went immediately hands-on, and 3 men just shoving me backwards off the premises. The police are called. They let me know that if I made any noise in that town, I'd be arrested. And I was like, I'd spoken out on the streets all across America, putting out this. For Bill to know, we've gone to New York. I'm out here in Seattle. I spent a lot of time out in Pike's Place, educating all the tourists about all this shit, and usually drawing nothing but a lot of hate. But I don't care. I'm a glutton for punishment. Anyway, Oklahoma City, it was just terrible, and God, just instant threats and intimidation, and yeah, for me, it ended up in major financial punishment too. My the way I generate funds was instantly demolished. But yeah, again, I do think that this is what I would like to see the world doing. I would love to see people just getting out inside of Oh, by the way, for the first time ever that year, they had to move the memorial for April 19th. They normally do it outside in front of the building. They had to move it inside to the big church that's right there. And then they had a wall of police that day. And when we showed up with our group, they said if any of us tried to enter, even though it was open to the public, we would be arrested. I just thought, man, we haven't even done anything. I'm showing up here and being treated like this instantly. But again, I think this is why people need to get out in front of these places on all these anniversaries. April 19th in front of Oklahoma City, Waco. Waco's the same type of thing. 9/11, World Trade Centers, and educate. And we had a weird thing happen at the World Trade Centers on 9/11 too. I'll save that story for another time. But these things have been massive psychological operations waged against us. And by the way, April 19th, very special date of the Jesuit order. It's the day in history that Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, whose name equals 201, just like Timothy McVeigh, all these 201s, it's Ignatius Loyola Day, Mr. 201. It's the day that he became recognized as the first superior general of the Jesuits. And Keating, the governor at the time, Jesuit who went to Georgetown, just like Clinton, Jesuit who went to Georgetown. I suspect that Clinton, because you don't have to divulge if you're in Skull and Bones. Clinton also went to Yale. I suspect he was probably in Skull and Bones between the two Bush presidencies, the World Trade Center thing happening while he's in there. But, and by the way, for people who don't know, do you guys know that Bill Clinton, that his biological name is not Clinton? Are you guys aware of that?
No.
You guys don't know that? Oh, yeah, look it up. His biological father is Bill Blythe. His biological father was found dead in a ditch May 17th, 1946, traveling from Chicago back to Arkansas. His mother married into the Clinton political dynasty, the first governorship of New York and several other politicians in that state, the Clintons. So think about that, too. Bill Clinton gets the name Clinton from who his mom married into. When he becomes president, bomb goes off in New York. Hillary, who also doesn't have a bloodline to Clinton, she becomes senator there. Do you know that when Clinton first became president, one of his first actions was to stop the underground weapons testing program that had been going on since the Manhattan Project?
No.
Yeah, if you look it up, that was one of the first things he did was he stopped the underground weapons testing program. And do you know what they said the terrorists did with the 93 bombing? Do you know the mistake they said they made? If you look into it, they said, by the way, the lead terrorist for the 93 bombing was named the Blind Sheik. In Gematria, Blind Sheik equals 93. And it's probably part of the joke because they said they planted the explosives the wrong way. They said had they planted them the right way, they might have leveled the towers that day. But instead, the explosions went into the ground and made a massive crater under the towers. So for the next 6 months, they worked under the towers, fixing the damage from the explosions. This is the story. I was thinking, so from the time of the Manhattan Project up until Clinton stopped the underground weapons testing program where they're detonating atomic, hydrogen, and nuclear bombs in the ground for experimentation purposes, I'm thinking, okay, they did that for 50 years. Then right at the same time he stops it, the 93 World Trade Center bombing happens in Manhattan. And then, as he leaves office and Bush comes in, then the buildings blow up and they turn into dust as they fall to the ground. Buildings 1 and 2 obviously fell, the Twin Towers, but then 7 hours later, Building 7 falls. Of course, they called it the new Pearl Harbor, kind of like Pearl Harbor's December 7th.
77,
Buildings 1, 2, and 7. For people who don't know, Pentagon construction also began on September 11th in 1941, right before Pearl Harbor. But what's crazy is in Gematria, ground zero equates to 127, and there was only one definition for ground zero before 9/11. Do you know what it was? The original definition for ground zero came out of the Manhattan Project. It's the point above or below ground where a hydrogen, atomic, or nuclear bomb explodes.
There was a woman who did some pretty obviously controversial research, but some pretty groundbreaking research and wrote a book.
Judy Wood.
Suggesting that there were many nuclear devices in the towers, right?
Well, wait. Judy Wood actually says it's a directed energy weapon. But
okay, no, this was a different one than that, because one of the Russians have them in the United States in smaller numbers, and who knows what they have as far as the new stuff. But one of the potentials that she pointed out, because of the leftover radioactive elements, mainly, was that it could have been mini nuclear devices.
Yeah. I think, you look at those buildings just turn to dust as they go to the ground. That's a lot of energy. When
you think about it, it kind of looks like it. Yeah.
Yo, you know how hard it is to like disintegrate bones and shit?
Right. The only thing that survived was the terrorist passport.
Yeah, that's why I was like, yo, you could disintegrate bones, but not fucking burn the passport? What the fuck? Come on.
By the way, 1968, where we began all those things that went down in 1968 connected to September 11th, that was also the year the Quran code was discovered that says the Quran is based on the number 19. Like they had to give you 19 hijackers. The lead hijacker, Muhammad Atta, was born in 68. So was Timothy McVeigh, for the record.
Shit.
You guys know the first nuclear energy site was Hanford out here in Washington State, correct? Hanford?
I believe the Indian Point was the first power generation site, but no, you're right. For the developing the nuclear bomb, yeah.
Sure. So a lot of people don't realize this, but Washington State had a lot to do with 9/11. Boeing is from Washington. The man who designed the World Trade Centers was a Japanese American from Seattle, Washington. And think about that. Japan, kamikazes, the story on 9/11. Have you guys ever seen the original footage of the first plane hitting the tower? The first image they put out? Have you guys seen that footage?
Yeah.
Do you remember what happens to that plane?
Like it almost disappears.
Yeah.
It flies all the way through the building.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And then the news cuts to black.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to ask yourself, were there even really any planes on 9/11? I mean, they still haven't showed us any proof of a plane hit the Pentagon.
Yo, the Pentagon one is horrible proof.
I think that there were bombs. And
exactly. There's massive explosions outward, the debris flying outward. It's like,
yeah, no, and there was some kind of projection. I mean, they've had this technology 100 years before they told us that they've had it, right?
Course,
so
yeah.
Who knows what kind of shit they had
used.
that could, project a plane and make it look real. And then you hear all the interviews at Ground Zero. Everyone is just like, yeah, a bomb went off. Yeah, it sounded like a bomb went off. Well, I was looking, and then the bomb went off. And it's just like people forget about it.
Dude, that's what I said.
All the initial reporting.
Yeah, that's
bombs.
what fucked me up.
The initial reporting was bombs.
When I was I remember hearing that shit on the radio, and I lived in New York, and I was hearing like them talking to people on the news, like live, all this shit. So many people were talking about bombs, and by the end of the day, it was changed, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck happened?"
They changed the narrative.
I was like, "Yo, completely different from what I heard 6 hours ago."
Can I share my screen real quick to make a visual point, since we haven't had a visual all night?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it. After that, we will have to wrap it up, though. Some of us do have to get going. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to keep you on, but
wrap up with this. All right.
77.
So these are the 4 base ciphers of the English language, and this is the Gemantria.com website built by Derek. So 4 base ciphers. You see, World Trade Center is 185 with the alphabetic order. That's just A is 1 up to Z is 26. You know how I was telling you earlier about Hulk Hogan, his little ritual with Randy Savage? Hulk Hogan just died 185 days after Trump took office. Of course, he spoke for him. And when the World Trade Centers came down, of course, Trump was interviewed that day. He was worried about, I'll come back to it. Anyway, here's the easier thing to understand. Bin Laden's birthday is March 10th. From his birthday to 9/11 is 185 days. And bin Laden, of course, was a CIA asset. His name was Timothy Osman, not too far off from Timothy McVeigh. Timothy equals 110, like Osama bin Laden, like Rockefeller. The World Trade Centers were 110 stories tall. The project was proposed by the Rockefeller family initially. That's also why Jay-Z, who was on Rockefeller Records, put out the blueprint on September 11, 2001. Little joke there. With numerology, World Trade Center is 77. And in that same cipher, if I spell out September 11th as words, it's also 77. Again, the whole flight 77, 77-foot tall Pentagon, 77 minutes after taking off on all of that. But here, coming back to World Trade Center, and you guys are talking about Crowley in 77, of course. World Trade Center with the reverse alphabetic order, 247. Again, reverse alphabetic order. Tenet became the head of the CIA 247 weeks and a day before 9/11 happened. Again, Hulk Hogan, who was used in the predictive programming, just died on the 24th day of the 7th month, just before the 24th anniversary, again, when he was known for his 24-inch pythons, and it's the year of the snake, and 9/11 was the year of the snake as well. And then World Trade Center in reverse with numerology is 94. They opened on April 4th, 73, 5 years to the day of the MLK assassination, which was in 68, the year construction began. And notice the word terror is also 94. It's also 68. It's also 41. September 11th, 2001. 9 plus 11 plus 20 plus 01 was the date with 41 numerology. They blamed it on Al-Qaeda, which is 41. Most of the hijackers were from our ally, Saudi Arabia, 41. Skull and Bones equals 41. Of course, Papa Bush was number 41. For people to know, Yale has 41 secret societies, the most famous of which is Skull and Bones. And about Skull and Bones,
There's a fuck ton of them over
number
there.
41, his birthday is June 12th, the day leaving 202 days left in the year, which is also the DC area code. His son's birthday is 7/6. On his 76th birthday was the day the Georgia Guidestones came down, where the etchings were put up on March 22nd, 322. There's a lot more to that. You just saw, do you guys, you know how they just did the tribute concert for Ozzy on July 5th?
Yes.
Ozzy Osbourne? They just did the tribute concert for him?
Yes.
You can take this off the screen.
Okay.
They just did the tribute concert for Ozzy on July 5th, the day before Bush's birthday. That day on Bush's birthday, Jack Black did a cover of Mr. Crowley. Are you aware of this?
No.
Jack Black did a cover of Ozzy's Mr. Crowley, right?
I'm not a fan of him.
So then Ozzy died, and that was on 7/6, right before Ozzy dies at 76. And keep in mind that cover came out on Bush's birthday, who told Ozzy that mom loved his stuff. And by the way, 76 is the 54th composite number, like he won the 54th election and said that to Ozzy on 5/4. But when Ozzy just died, it was exactly 47 weeks into Jack Black's age, like how Crowley died in 47. And the Masons studied the 47th problem of Euclid. This is another monster number. There's a reason that building 7 was 47 floors tall and each floor 47,000 square feet. Open up another can of worms.
NASA,
But, again, I
NASA
just wanted
started
to
in
show-
47 too, I think.
Say that again?
Didn't NASA start in 1947 as well?
Well, it started with the Air Force prior, but it became NASA officially in 58.
Oh, okay, my bad. That's for some reason.
And just for the record, science equals 58. So does Freemasonry. So does secret society. So does Rosicrucian. King James, the Freemason and Rosicrucian, died at age 58. Trump announced from the 58-story Trump Tower that he was running for the 58th election. And he was the apprentice. The first degree of Freemasonry is the honored apprentice.
Oh, shit.
Remember, the year that he ran for the 58th election was the 58th Grammys. Vanity died the day of the 58th Grammys, which is Prince's girlfriend from the time of Purple Rain. And that's also Prince's mother's death anniversary. But then Prince died that year. Purple Rain equals 58. Prince died 201 days before the election was called for Trump, and he had the song Black Donald Trump. And when Bill and Hillary came out and conceded, they wore purple. When Trump had his convention in Cleveland in 2016, right after LeBron won on the real King James's birthday, think about that. King James dies at 58. Trump has the convention in Cleveland for the 58th election. He came out to Queen, We Are the Champions, and Queen Elizabeth equals 58. Trump also equals 88, like purple, like Elizabeth, just with the simple cipher. That was 88 days after Elizabeth's birthday that he came out to Queen, We Are the Champions, before Bill and Hillary eventually conceded in purple. By the way, November 5th this year. This time the election is November 5th. This time Trump gets 58% of the Electoral College, and it's on November 5th, which is the day in history the Jesuits tried to assassinate King James. And of course, Trump had the assassination hoax synced up with Robert Kennedy, who got Secret Service protection right after. I heard you say we got to go, but man, do you want the one last piece on the Trump assassination hoax, or you want to save it for another time?
It's up to you. I mean, if you do it real quick.
No, it's up to you, man. It's your show.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it real quick. Yeah.
Okay. If you go back and look, when RFK Jr. filed his paperwork to run for president. He did it on April 5th. And that date can be written 4-5 or 5-4. Both Dealey Plaza and Ambassador Hotel equate to 54 and 45, where his uncle and his father died respectively. His father died at 1:44 a.m. His uncle died, JFK, 144 days from meeting the Pope. When he filed his paperwork to run, that was 144 days after the Superior General's birthday, the leader of the Jesuits. When Jesuit order equals 144, so does the United States of America. And of course, that's a biblical number. It's a time number. It's not an arbitrary number. It has a square root of 12, big time number. This year's election on November 5th, the anniversary of trying to assassinate King James but failing, it was 144 days after Trump's birthday. And in the last election, when Biden won, who's also Jesuit educated, Jesuit Georgetown simulated that Biden would beat Trump. Trump would refuse to step down and lead to a deadly altercation between Americans because of his refusal to step down. That was called the Transition Integrity Project, put on by Georgetown, June 12th, 2020, 144 days before the election. And President Biden also equals 144, like Jesuit order. Again, there's so many of these. But
that is wild.
Think about it. Lincoln, too, who blamed the Civil War on the Jesuits. What day was he shot? The 14th of April, 14-4. The same day the Secret Service was created. So, yeah. That's my introduction to Gematria. I hope it was clear enough.
That was pretty fucking wild, man. That was some wild shit, Zachary. Thank you very much. Thank you. Unfortunately, listen, I could keep going all day, but unfortunately, it is late. People got to go, and this is our second show. But I mean, you're always welcome back on, my man. If you ever want to come back on, that was a blast. Let everybody plug themselves before we have you. Let everybody know where they can find your stuff again. Ethan, real quick, please, sir. Let everybody know where they can find all your amazing work and your books.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Nick. That was an awesome presentation. Really cool deciphering numerological insights. Thank you. I'm on, all the usual suspects of the social media, and my books are on Globo.com and also all the usual suspects and digest. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you, Tyrone, Jules, Nick, you're the man.
Oh yeah, no,
Zach, that was awesome.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Man.
By the way, I saw your presentation on cannabis. I loved it. For the record, when I found the magical word gematria, I was working on a nice joint at the time. So,
there you go.
I used to have a medical cannabis business. That's a whole nother story. I can tell you how that all ended.
Definitely. Definitely listen to that next time.
That's awesome. Thanks, Zachary. Appreciate that, man.
Thank you, Ethan, for coming on and asking good questions and bringing good stuff to the show. Jules, my man, what is going on, sir? You made it back. I was hoping you would.
What's up?
How are you?
Are we doing plugs?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, my kids came in here and I had to go.
I'm assuming you know.
Yeah, guys, this was a great show. Fucking Zach, it's a great presentation, man. I learned a lot, and I have a lot that I have to research now. So thank you. And I'd love to get you on Grey Pilled sometime.
Happy to come on.
If you're ever free, yeah, man. Have a good time. Guys, I'm over on Twitter, Greypilled Pod, Instagram, Greypilled_podcast when I use it. Rumble, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Y'all be sure to like the stream, share it, go subscribe, and go over to Patreon if you want to support the show. Patreon.com/GreyPillPodcast. We do an esoteric book review every Saturday morning over there. Strictly to Patreon. We're watching Fire Walk with Me this week. Just finished season 2 of Twin Peaks. Don't worry, Nick. We still gotta watch season 3, so I'll have you on to hang out.
Hey, when you watch Twin Peaks, look at the population on the sign.
Okay. You're a Twin Peaks fan, man?
Oh, Twin Peaks is one of the greatest shows of all time.
Oh, fuck. All right. Nice, man. That's what's up.
That's a whole new discussion.
Nice, dude.
So, yeah, we finished up season 2. We're watching Fire Walk with Me. We kind of analyze it, just talk about it and have a good time over there. So, yeah, and Nick, thank you again for having me on. Ethan, Tyrone, it was great to share stage with you guys again, and I got to get you guys scheduled on the show as well. So,
well, Jules, thank you. Did you plug the live? You may have plugged it. I just want to make sure you did. Did you plug the live show?
The what?
The live show that you do. Did you mention that?
Which one?
Already Dead. Well, you do a live show with Already Dead.
Oh
you?
yeah. I produce for a live call-in parapolitical show every Tuesday with Jose Galison and Austin Picard called Already Dead. You can tune into that 8:30 Central. We do a call-in portion at the end where you can come on and kind of shoot the shit with us. And yeah, it's a good time. But and I'm going live Friday with JJ. We're doing a swap cast Friday night. So awesome. It's gonna be a good time.
Good for you, my man. Yeah. And then Tyrone, my man. What's going on, sir?
All right. Hey, it was a good show, man. Hey, a lot of great information, bro. I'm about to do a deep dive. I'm not going to forget anything on, the number 33. I'm going to be paying attention to that a lot more. I appreciate what you shared. Hey, you can find everything about me on rebirthoftheword.com. You can buy my book, Journey Through the Origins of History, on Amazon. It was a bestseller, and I appreciate this one. This was a very good show.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Zachary, for real, you really brought the heat with this shit.
You guys got
there was even times where I was just like, I can't even handle all this in the chat. It was just like, this is too much. This is fucking number overload. That was really, really awesome stuff, man. I really appreciate you coming on. And again, I've known of you for years, so this is wild to even have you on the show. So I appreciate it. Please let everybody know who doesn't know who you are on the Occult Rejects where they can find you.
If you just search my name, as you see on the screen, you'll find my stuff. Again, Amazon recently says there's no more copies of my book, and I don't know who they're selling through, but now it costs a fortune. I make this book free to download for any. Both of my books are free to download.
Oh, nice.
You don't need to subscribe. If you search my name, Patreon, you'll find it. You don't need to pay for the Patreon. Just use the search feature and just type in ebooks, and you'll find the numerous times I posted it for free to download. I need to do another post, but my problem is right now I have it backed up on my external hard drive, but I can't find the plug-in to put in the computer right now, so I need to go buy another one so I can just do that. But you can find my books for free to download, and there's also other websites that have made my book free to download. If you look for it, if you really want to learn about this and read about it, trust me, my book's not that hard to find to download.
It's probably up on Internet Archive, a free PDF somewhere.
Yeah, it's out there. It's out there.
Thank you so much, man, for real, and thank you to the chat that you had, the guys over on your side, the men and women over there chatting it up. Great stuff, because I can see the chat on here. Just awesome things, being said in the chat from both sides. That's what's up. That's why I love going live. There was tons of things just to read inside the chat, fucking off the hook. So yeah, that is the end of another Occult Rejects, and until the next one, everybody be well. Later.